Like, what's the problem with xenophobic nationalism? Don't you think that's
Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna have to slow this down, first of all, to normal. 20 Trump supporters take on one progressive. Do you know what I've watched? I've seen tweets when people were like, when people were coping so hard about this that they thought that that Sam Seder was the conservative and that he was battling woke people. I saw people were like, oh my gosh, this is the face of a person that knows he's gonna face a bunch of woke dummies. And it was so hilarious that people just like, no, this guy's making sense. He must be the conservative. They have to be the non-conservative ones. That was so funny. Way too fast. Yeah, I had it set up. I had it like on 1.5 on a different video. Jubilee might copyright strike you though. It's okay. I'm a small channel. Small channels always get their way on YouTube when it comes to disputes like this. Wait, hold on. How do I add how do I add a filter then? What do I do? How do I add a filter? Oh, I know. Oh, I've got a brilliant idea. I've got an amazing idea. Okay. I'm a genius. Okay. Oh God, I'm such a genius. Can they use the audio for strikes? I'm such a genius. What is GNN? What is GNN? Oh.
like, what's the problem with
Okay, we're gonna do this.
national?
It's my pretense algorithm used from the ONN. What is the ONN? ONN? I may have handed Lucy a live grenade. It's okay. Okay. Okay? You're gonna be playing Free Kingdoms while doing this. This is perfect, okay? 2 birds with 1 stone. Good tier 1. Thank you. Genius, Lucy. You should get military training to counteract the US military ban. True. Wait, what US military ban? Oh, you're right. Oh, you're right. Yeah, the trans ban. You're right. You're right. We're going to be playing Free Kingdoms while watching and commenting on this video. Isn't this brilliant? Am I not a genius? Call me a genius because I am one, okay?
War grows bitter and endures.
Show them trans can kick ass. True. I will show them all.
If there is no end in sight,
do you not agree with me that if you undergo military training, then you basically should get a weapons permit? Tell me you agree with me on this one. It's 1 hour 30 minutes. Oh my god. 1 hour 30 minutes. Jesus. You almost helped me. I must train to speak faster because when I speak slow, people are getting bored. It's like medically and physically and it's science that says that when you speak slower, people get more bored. And I'm a very slow speaker, so I have to train myself. I have to be like a rambling machine that speaks super fast, even if I'm not sure what I'm saying. Please watch my new video. No, don't watch my new video. Watch my video about the homelessness and watch Trump's opinions in 1987 versus Trump's actions now and laugh. I've dug out interviews with Trump from the 80s for you, from the 1980s, for your pleasure to see what his attitude about everything was back then and how it compares to right now, which interestingly enough, not much has changed for most things, which is very telling that he thinks that the United States have been a static country for 44 years because he has used the same talking points 44 years ago as he is using now, apart from one very specific talking point, and that is that in the 1980s he said that the nearest and dearest topic to his heart was homelessness, and he wanted to do everything he could to fix homelessness, and that if America got rich again, quote unquote, that it could fix the homelessness problem. And now that Trump is the president, he's making America great again, we can observe what he actually meant when he said help and protect the homeless. So, save the homeless. Well, what he meant is we need to clear out homeless encampments and get them off the street. Yes, I think I did quite well with that segment. I believe I've done quite well with that one. Wouldn't you agree? Okay, look, this is the map. Before we start watching Sam Seder, I'm gonna brag about it a little bit. This purple, all of this is my domain, okay? You see how much my empire, my kingdom. I'm actually just a lowly marquise. I'm gonna be a duke at some point soon in the future. Isn't that cool? I'm playing as Cao Cao, and I'm trying to reunify China. We're going to be reunifying China as we watch Seder. Oh, it's green now. My function is green now. So all the green is mine. How do you like it? Wouldn't you say that my territory is actually quite big? Okay, nobody here is impressed. I'm a little bit. That makes me a little bit sad, actually. That no one here is impressed with my prowess. Lucy spread the trans agenda. True. Big and stretched out. Yes. Yes, exactly. The people can be unified without war. Well, no, because the people unifying the land are a bunch of warlords. So, by definition, the land cannot be unified without war, since the people doing their unification are like just a bunch of warlords, and I'm one of them. This game takes place in the Free Kingdoms era. Well, there was just a bunch of warlords fighting for control. So I'm gonna tell you my plans, and then we're gonna jump into no, not Free Kingdoms. I'm gonna tell you my plans, and then I'm gonna jump into the Seder thing. The plan is to take over this Liu Yao, and then it's gonna become. I'm gonna conquer a bunch of lands in the west, and I'm gonna conquer a bunch of lands here, and here, and then it's gonna become a little bit less stretched out, because my goal is to encircle this Sun Jian. I think he's my biggest rival in this game. Sun Jian, the tiger of China. He has this nickname, the tiger, because he's so good in battle, you know? Sun Ce is his son. That's his son. So we're getting there. Okay, let's start Seder. I'm gonna see what I can do in the meantime.
Nationalism, don't you think that's better?
Also, I need to make the game a bit louder so that the audio comes through. This is a colonialist duck, true. Well, it's not exactly a colonialist. It's more like a civil war. So I'm not even sure if the word colonialism applies here, because all the warlords are locals and they're just fighting to unify the land under their own specific rule. Will you add your custom emojis to YouTube? Yes. Yes, I will. I actually will. For all those who are like subscribers and stuff. In fact, if you want me to add custom emotes, just write what emotes you'd like and I'll add them. You can pee sitting down if you take military training. Yes, I can, of course. All military. Actually, that's the opposite. The moment you undergo military training, you have to be sitting down. Also, a certain Korean person told me that everybody should be peeing sitting down, especially in a class, like in a home toilet, because the pee, if you pee standing up, the pee particles just get spread all over your bathroom. Just so you know. Oh no, I'm not going to the military, but I might undergo military training. It's a thing that will be available for Polish people. Okay, let's see.
Better for Americans in general?
To be xenophobic,
yes.
nationalism is better.
We should have a coherent culture. Everyone should be a part of the same culture.
Which, do you get to choose what the culture is?
We already have a dominant culture.
I mean, look, I gotta be honest with you, like, you and I have a fundamental
culture.
I don't get to choose
so.
what the culture is?
I don't think, okay, I'm gonna say this as a foreigner, okay? I'm gonna give you my unique perspective as a foreigner, how I've always viewed the United States of America, and I mean the positive things about the United States of America. I know there is a lot to criticize the United States of America for as a concept, especially now there's a lot of to criticize the United States of America under Trump, right? But there's always been quite a lot that I had praise for when it came to the United States. And I've, full disclosure, when I've been small, you know how there's this whole thing about Russia, that there's this whole thing with Russia, how it won World War II, the great war, that was like the great, I don't remember what name the Russians used for World War II, the great sort of like this war of the homeland or whatever. And I've been sort of taught, Great Patriotic War, yeah. And I've been sort of, ever since I was small, I've been living with the, in my opinion, more true statement that the country that was a big contributor to winning the war was the United States, you know, and of course my grandfather, who was kidnapped as a child and brought to Germany to the concentration camp. He worked with American soldiers when they came to Germany to defeat it, and he came back, from what I know, thanks to the American soldiers, to Poland. Medical weed is legal in Poland. And so I've got this, I guess, sort of bias towards Poland, towards the US. And one of the positives that I've always seen in the United States is this lack of a mono unified culture. That it's a country of many different cultures that coexist, and that they are all equally American. Does that make sense? I like this idea of not being just this one generic culture that everybody has to follow, but instead I like the idea of it being many different cultures, many different things, and that it's...
Fall in line. You may survive this upheaval.
No, I don't think so.
Your choice.
You know? And it just diminishes the whole idea of the United States for me, to say, oh no, we actually have to push for a very specific, very narrow set of things that are American culture, you know? Like the whole idea that people from all over the world would go to the US, for example, and bring with them the food from their countries, and the United States would have food from all over the world in it, and then the people that would bring that food from other places would put a specific spin that is local on it in the United States. That is for me what makes it a nice place, you know? And to sort of throw all of that away is just ridiculous to me. Does that make sense? At a diplomatic gathering, you are discussing various matters with two dignitaries, one of whom is well kept and dignified, and the other who looks unwashed and disheveled when saying goodbye. The uncouth man offers his hand while his counterpart remains stoic. You must give some gesture to one of them. Right? Do you agree with me more or less on this, or no? What are your opinions, chat?
We already have a dominant culture.
I mean, look, I got to be honest with you. Like, you and I have a fundamental disagreement. We will never see eye to eye on this. Hi, I'm Sam Seder, host of the Majority Report, and today I am surrounded by 20 conservatives. My first claim is Trump's attack on DEI hides his real goal, which is to give corporations more power.
True.
All right. Oops, sorry, Sam.
No worries.
All right. I think I have a slight issue with the back end of the premise. I guess Trump's attacks on DEI being a real goal to, give corporations more power. I'd rather center the conversation around the democratic, especially as conservatives, the issues that people have with DEI and why I believe Trump would, want to support the issues that, people are voting for him for.
I mean, I'm talking about his whole attack on DEI. It's actually DEIA,
Sure.
right? You know that.
Also, by the way, it's also, nobody talks about the fact that this is also actually an attack on veterans, because veterans are also diversity hires apparently, so they cannot get a job now, thanks to Donald. What a hero.
In government agencies. The A being for accessibility.
Right. Yeah, and I think the attack on DEI.
Oh, so I guess people with disabilities also get hit by this. If it's accessibility means, like, for example, making sure that stairs have special accommodation so that people in wheelchairs can use them. That's an example of accessibility. A very straightforward, very simple one at that.
DEI isn't an attack on people's protections. It's on the other end.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is an attack on people's protections. What do you mean? It is ridiculous to say that attacking DEI is not an attack on people's protections. Absolutely is. It's supposed to exclude people. 100%.
End of the spectrum, right? Wanting to end DEI doesn't want to end protections for someone being disabled, someone being, inaccessible
It
to.
does by definition, by very definition. Even if it doesn't attempt to do it, in practice it does it. I don't know if the attack on DEI had the purpose of hitting veterans specifically, but it does end up doing that. So intentions don't matter. Isn't there a saying that the road to hell is paved with good intentions or something?
To get into a job, it rather wants to de-incentivize corporations to push them to.
Like, I'm gonna be the person to say it doesn't matter what it wants to do. What matters to me is what it, does. Right? Does it make sense? Does that make sense? What I'm saying? It doesn't matter what it wants to do. What matters is what it does. Who cares what it wants to do? I don't. I care about what it does, right? Hell is understating too late. Like,
hire these people on unfair bases, right?
Okay.
This is so silly. Oh, all these people might be screwed over by, that's not the intention. The intention is for not screwing over. I don't care. Why would I care? Come on. Why would I care about... This is silly.
China!
Okay, but DEIA
Right.
is not about quotas or anything like that. It is about protections for people within these organizations, or to make sure that you have different communities that have the opportunity to apply to these things.
Right.
So it can mean, within government agencies, it means things like, let's pay interns so that not only wealthy people can have their kids do interns.
Oh my god, pay interns is such a big thing. It should be a standard everywhere if you ask me.
We march now.
It's
for
the
something
standard right
greater
now
than
is that a person
ourselves.
finishes university
Your opinions are always deftly
and
delivered.
they have to work as an intern for God knows how long without any pay to gain experience, quote unquote. And in the meantime, how are they supposed to support themselves if they don't have a family that will do it? Especially since in the United States, you have the added weight of the fact that the university lands you in debt, okay? So if you're fresh out of legal school, which that is pretty expensive, probably across the board, even in the cheaper schools, it still
The
ends
world
up being
waits
a
to our
pretty penny.
impending victory.
It ends up being a
Now
pretty
be
penny.
driven like the
right?
hurricane to victory.
And you end up with law education, but with debt. And you want to pay it off as soon as possible, but surprise, you cannot because, well, as it turns out, it looks like that you have to work as an intern and not receive any pay at all. How wonderful, how cool. It's a very sad state of affairs. But that's not just a problem in the United States. It's the same in Poland, actually. So you're, as a person fresh out of law school, your options are to really take a risk and to try to start your own law firm, which that comes with its own set of challenges and financial burdens, or to build your way up from zero by working as an intern in an established firm, which will mean that you would have to at least have a family that would be able to support you while you're not making money, and you still have that looming debt, the university debt. So, great.
Internships in these agencies.
And-
Or let's put out notices around different parts of
Steel yourselves!
Oh,
town,
buffering.
Sure.
metaphorically speaking, so that people know this job exists.
Right. This is where it begins, but this isn't the ultimate goal that conservatives have an issue with. Conservatives don't have an issue with trying to spread job applications to poorer communities.
Well,
So
then-
Hey, what's with the buffering? That annoys me.
everyone
Why
gets-
rescind DEIA requirements in government agencies?
Because the problem with DEIA is there may not be like perceived actual number quotas, but that's what it devolves into, and especially
Oh, that's what it devolves
with
into.
problem
government
with,
agencies.
Because the problem
Is
with
it
DEIA.
demonstrable, or is it just a thing that this person feels is the case? Because that is often what happens with people, you know? They feel like something's the case and they just roll with it,
Series of coups.
you know? Does that make sense? I feel like the Twitch is just inactive. I did my best with the multi-streaming, but it makes sense what I'm saying, yeah? Or no?
IA is there may not be like perceived actual number quotas, but that's what it devolves into, and especially with
Do
corporations,
you have
it
the
devolves.
evidence of that?
I mean, sure, we
There
can look
you
at
go. Yes, please give evidence.
corporations that are government agencies that are hiring people on not true proper basis. We can even look
Well,
at.
I mean,
we can
what-
even
Okay,
look
what
at.
does that mean on not true proper basis? For example, if a person was born in a very poor neighborhood and they had to work throughout school, they did not have the opportunities to do extracurriculum activities that richer kids do, because I've seen what the criteria are to getting extra points for university in the United States. They did not have the parents that attended the same university, which is also a detriment for some universities. So they end up not going to the best university or to a university. So they should just buy, in practice, because of the circumstances of their birth, they should not have a job. That it would not be proper basis for them to get a job, because this is de facto where we're going with this. Unless you have a proper pedigree, you should not have a job. Oh, okay. If you don't have a proper pedigree, you should not have a job, I guess. That's a fact now. And DIA, the task of that, at least affirmative action, because I guess it feels like they're talking about affirmative action, is to alleviate that. It says yes, even those who are not fortunate at the start of their life, they also deserve to have a job, okay? Those people also deserve to have a job.
Would you
The
have any
DNC's
evidence that that's happening?
Yeah, even the DNC's nomination of Kamala as president this year, there was no reason to nominate Kamala as she wasn't democratically selected. She wasn't. She didn't go through a single primary.
Well,
none
wait
of
a
these
second.
things.
So
She
you're
is,
saying that Kamala
That is a
was-
completely different topic, because the reality of the situation is that it is within in the individual parties, as I understand it. Parties can choose their candidates however they wish. They choose to do it via preliminary, that's their choice. But as far as I understand how the whole procedure works in the United States, it is at the party's discretion as to how they emerge at a candidate. Okay? It is the prerogative of the party. It is not some defined political process of democracy that there has to be a preliminary. I don't know. It makes the Kamala example makes no sense, because it's within the party's discretion who they choose to be their candidate. It's just that most of them choose to do it via preliminary, but it's not a mandatory thing as far as I understand it. Which is why in this case they just chose her. They didn't do it.
was the vice president of the United States after
Yes.
the president drops out 2 months before the convention. You think that's a DEI
She wasn't
hire?
Every presidential nominee is democratically selected to be the nominee for that
you
party,
realize
except
there
The
were-
democratically selected is a really strange thing to say, considering that it's a vote inside the party, isn't it?
primaries prior to 1972
well,
in the
sure, but
Democratic
this
Party?
this isn't before 1972.
Well, I understand, but what did
This
you
is,
think
know,
you were going to run primaries in those 2 months?
Well,
I mean,
sure,
Joe
I mean,
Biden should have dropped
but
out
even-
3 years
even
ago. as far as I'm
before-
Okay, I hate the buffering, but yes, it's silly. It's silly. There's an even sillier version of this argument, which is, oh my gosh, it was a coup. It was a coup. Biden was couped by Kamala when he dropped out and she stepped in his place. It was a big bad coup, because people love the word coup.
Well, sure, but even before, when Kamala was running in primary, she didn't. She
Okay.
wasn't the next man up. None
Okay,
of
what's happening with the internet today? Or YouTube or whatever? It says that my connection is perfect. It's slower than maximum. No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to restart the browser. Plus, I don't think it will help. Let's watch. So
This-
yeah,
she-
the Kamala Harris example is ridiculous.
wasn't the next person
Well, she
up.
was the vice president.
Right.
but
I mean, we could lower the resolution even more a bit.
Of course, but
Yeah.
she wasn't
that
in
tiny
primaries.
detail. But
Right,
listen,
well,
aside from, I would have might have wanted
Okay,
a different.
I have no clue what's happening with the buffering. It annoys the hell out of me. Okay. So nobody's watching on Twitch. Just saying. Okay.
different
Absolutely.
candidate as well. But that has nothing to do with Trump rescinding orders that basically say you need to search for a wide range of candidates, not necessarily give any different benefits, but
Well, that is also a part of it, by the way. Yeah, that's true. That is also a part of it. I'm just gonna close a bunch of tabs and see if it improves things. All right. Maybe the buffering that is saving me. Who knows?
you need to make sure different communities have access to the awareness of this job. You need in your office accessibility
Yeah, you need accessibility.
for people who have
Hey, the buffering is just bad. The hell. Guess we're just gonna wait for the buffering to happen. Will it happen even? Is it buffering? Because this is a long video to just leave on buffering. Well, in the meantime, we can. Oh, they're already here. Okay, I'm gonna have to choose the Lancer, Spear, and retreat them and charge again.
say you need to search for a wide range of candidates, not necessarily give any different benefits, but you need to make sure different communities have access to the awareness of this job. You need in your office accessibility for people who have physical handicaps.
Sure.
If you have folks who identify
Oh my god. Non-binary. Identifies non-binary. I should be fine.
as as trans, you need to make it at least hospitable and not. This
Wait,
is
you don't identify as trans. That is a big misconception in my opinion, okay? I identify as a woman, not as trans. Okay?
it's all non-discriminatory stuff. That's what this is all
But you're
about.
cherry picking the portions of DEI that
Okay, this is just annoying. This is just annoying. Having a buffer every few seconds. You know?
even conservatives don't have issues. Conservatives don't have
The
workplaces.
whole DEI
Yes.
apparatus within our
It is
government.
okay.
So basically what the conservative is saying is that he does not understand what the thing that is being attacked is, and that he fundamentally isn't against it, because that's the only charitable way I can interpret this, okay? That this person is just naive and is saying, well, I'm not against any of this. Well, then why is Trump trying to dismantle it? Why is Trump not even trying? He is dismantling it via an executive order. If you're not against it, then why do you support Trump doing it? That is my question, right? I think this is the first guy out of the 20. Sam Seder madness. Sam Seder madness.
Was a function of doing exactly
It
what I
is-
said, had nothing to do with quotas
It
or
is
even
unfortunate
affirmative
that
action.
those things get taken out, and there might not have been specific
What else
numerical
was he trying to
quotas.
take out with
It's trying to take out people getting jobs that don't deserve those jobs. People getting
Who are those people that don't deserve jobs? What does deserving a job mean? Because there's a lot of loaded into that statement. Again, if you're not born in the right circumstance, then I guess you just don't deserve a job, right? If you're not born into a family that can provide extra activities for you, if you're not born into a family that can, I guess it's just like that, right? Isn't that right? If you're not born into the right circumstance, then you just don't deserve to have a job. That is what I'm hearing.
pushed into no
evidence.
qualification.
There is no evidence of what you just said happening in these government agencies.
There is no evidence, yeah.
That's not true at all. I mean, we're not allowed to sit here and have notes and numbers to pull up for you. You can't,
Give me
you know,
one example.
You can't ask me to pull up numbers when I'm not able to sit here and look on a computer for you. But these are the
How would you
problems that
even-
conservatives.
Sorry, you've been voted out. Please return to your
Thanks,
seat.
Sam.
Not a good start for the conservatives, I will say that. Not a good start. A very weak start, the DEI thing. Oh my gosh, what a weird
See ya.
system.
Okay, so I think the roots issue with DEI isn't what the previous
Okay,
gentleman.
is this primarily centered around DEI? Because that is just silly to me. That is a silly discussion. Just like the whole affirmative action thing was a silly discussion to me. Because people don't understand what it is and have strong opinions on it. And this seems to be the exact same case. People have no clue what the EIA is and just have strong opinions on it. Right? Does that make sense? Even the guy that was just here was like, well, I'm not against any of that. I'm not against any of this. Hello, Dr. Johns.
War grows bitter and enduring between you and your enemy. If there is no end in sight, then the people will grow weary.
We're doing a bunch of beautiful politics tonight, where apparently I could get copyright struck, so I'm playing a game.
May be in your best interest.
The buffering is really painful.
And was trying to point, conservatives aren't necessarily have issues with those things like accessibility to people who might need help. The issue is, and I kind of referred to this before, when you have agencies and systems, what tends to happen when you have government overreach, big government, is that agencies and systems
Big government? I hate these terms. I hate these terms so much. Because people just throw them around without having an inkling what they mean. You big government overreach.
abused. And I think unequivocally, DEI was heavily abused.
Wow. So many words to say nothing. So, what I do like is the good things in the DEIA. But what I do hate is those bad things, the big government overreach. And I think there's abuse. And yeah, it's bad. It's not good. That's why Trump has to deal with it, because it's just not good. Okay.
In practice, it was great in theory. It's idealistic, which is sure is fine, that a lot of people can get behind, but it was abused in a lot of ways. When you have actors, like we're in California right now, when you have actors, white male actors who are being told, we do not want white men, we're not gonna cast any white men, we only want this particular kind of gender, race, right? That isn't a...
That's not happening, and furthermore, I'm pretty sure that's illegal, okay? I'm pretty sure saying we don't want this particular race or whatever, that's illegal. That is pretty sure that's not happening, okay? I'm pretty confident that's not happening. Maybe I'm just wrong, okay? Am I wrong? Write in the chat, please. Please write. Workforce distribution office, shopkeeper. No, there's no farm.
Abuse of a system. It's no longer fair, but more about...
Oh, okay. That's literally, this is a whole bunch of nothing. A whole bunch of nothing. So the system is abused, and that's bad. And when the bad happens, I don't like it, and we should do something about it. Okay, what's the abuse? Give me some specifics to work with, because I'm not getting any, and I don't know what Sam series is about, like, is supposed to even say to this, apart from, you're not giving me anything, you're not saying anything. What is the abuse? Well, what's happening, even? What are you saying?
About just perpetuating one aspect of, visual compelling aspects, because at the end of the day, what's going to happen is companies are going to say, well, we want to look the most diverse.
Okay, well,
and what that is it's moral grandstanding. It's saying because we have more black women, we sell better soda, like that.
I got you.
That is not...
Well, that's getting a little far afield from what Trump's DEI orders are. But I can tell you, as somebody who was a sitcom actor in the 90s, I would walk into a room and everybody I would see would look like me. And I was doing a second position, which doesn't even exist anymore, where you do 2 pilots a year. And I was looking around, basically every part of television when I was a kid, I was centered in some fashion. It was either this is about my mother, or this is about my father, or someone like me was centered. So, we can argue as to whether or not Hollywood is overcorrected in some fashion. But on a governmental level, the DEIA directives that agencies were following for the past 4 years, there's nothing, I don't know what you mean by abuse on it, but there is no evidence that it was an affirmative action program in those instances.
True.
It was about anti-discrimination.
And people really, really misunderstand affirmative action as well, okay? I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna say it with full authority bestowed upon me, and I'm gonna say it with full confidence of a person that has looked into it and that has debated it. Okay? Please trust me when I say that it's nonsense, okay? All the anti-affirmative action arguments. What was the question? A bit of a personal tangent. Oh, did I ask a question? Yeah. People criticize things without understanding what they are. That is the biggest problem.
Discrimination. You cannot discriminate against these people, and you want to open up opportunities for a broad swath of people. Again, the internship is like one of the most material things that exist there, where the idea that you need to pay interns. And that's important because you want low-income people to have the same sort of like opportunities to see these things as wealthy people.
And that is also the idea behind affirmative action, okay? So that people from poorer backgrounds have the same opportunities to get education. I didn't think that it's like I did not think that it would be controversial, but I guess it is. I guess it is.
You know, my kids can maybe afford to do an internship for the summer instead of going to get a job.
I think what's happening is we're talking about two different things.
Well, again, but I'm talking about Trump's.
No, we're not talking about. I mean, yeah, but yes, I'm serious talking about the things that Trump's executive order directly affects, right?
DEIA rescission is a way of basically driving people out of these agencies, making it
you're saying Trump specifically, and I understand why you're saying Trump, but
well, yeah, Trump specifically because he specifically signed the executive order. Who would you be talking about if not Trump? He signed a huge anti-diversity and inclusion executive order to erase anything diversity and exclusion from governmental positions, etc. Am I right or wrong? Who wants to sign peace with me? Who am I at war with? Wait, I'm at war with these guys? Since when?
It is done then.
I think the American people as a whole have kind of, and I won't say whole because obviously it's not 100%, but a majority of the American people have kind of rejected DEI because, again,
I don't think a majority.
That's great, but it seems like a majority of people just don't understand what it is. So that's not an argument that the majority of people rejected this, that, or whatever, okay? If you're gonna reject something, understand what it is.
We're talking about
know what DEIA is.
That may be the case, but again, my point is we're talking about abuse of a system.
How can you speak of abuse of a system if you don't know what it is? How? This is ridiculous.
You're talking about is not necessarily what was happening. What people were seeing were, hey, because you're white, you can't do this, and liberals like to do this thing where they create systems, and then they created the whole idea of woke, and then they backed away, and then conservatives say woke, and then they're like, well, we don't know what woke is. They created DEI. Biden literally said Kamala Harris is being chosen because she is a black woman, and then all of a sudden Democrats for the rest after that said that's not why she was chosen, even though Biden literally said that. And then we have this cognitive dissonance as if we're not living in reality.
Biden wanted to make sure that there was that there was an opportunity for a black woman to be his vice president.
Yes, but so why did Democrats move away from that and say no, it wasn't because she was a black woman?
I don't know
my point is
it's not because she's a black woman.
But that's what they said. I can agree that it's not because she's a black woman, but that's what they said. Why did they say that then?
No, because there are plenty of black women, right? Like, he could have picked anybody, but he picked specifically her. You're positing the idea that there wasn't a black woman who would have been qualified for that position.
No,
and I don't believe that.
No, that's not what conservatives aren't saying that there are.
I mean, that would be the logical conclusion of saying that she was chosen because she was a black woman. They would have to say that, no?
Because again, even in the Republican Party right now, and in Trump's cabinet, there are people of color that Democrats pretend don't exist, like J.D. Vance's wife, and
J.D. Vance's wife is not in the cabinet.
No, but
she exists, and this is his wife, and this is such a weird argument. And I still have not heard what the abuse is.
If J.D. Vance was a Democrat, his wife would be lauded all over everything because of her color of her skin.
Listen, I'm not here to defend the Democrats' choice on every policy, but there is one party in this country that is identitarian. There is one party that is represented and it is homogenous, and it is the Republican Party. 85% of Republicans are white. That's just the reality of it.
So does that
Some
mean that?
people don't necessarily have a problem with that.
But here's the thing. You said even if let's just say, okay, that's true. 80% of Republicans are white. Does that mean that they're less moral? That they can't run an effective government?
The idea
what does race have to do? What does race have to do?
Say,
hold on. What does
Donald Trump didn't have to say.
What does race?
Mine's going to be a white male.
No.
Because they all knew it was going to be.
No, this is the premise of DEI. What does race have to do with running an effective government? What does race have to do? If let's say DEI on the micro.
It has nothing to do with running the effective government. But what race has to do is that in the United States, as the unfortunate reality, I am winning. Many people that belong to certain races just have less opportunity because they're born into less wealthy neighborhoods, etc., right? So does that mean that those people just because of their birth, they just don't deserve certain opportunities? Like, are we going back to the class system that when you're born into a certain class, you just shouldn't want to raise above it? It's just out of your grasp because of the circumstances of your birth?
I will tell you right now.
DEI on the micro level at McDonald's.
I'll tell you.
Am I going to get better nuggets?
Listen, I'll ask you a question.
If the cashier is black or white, what does that have to do with anything?
I'll tell you what it is. First of all, DEIA means that if you come into this agency or corporation.
And also, it's not even, if we're talking about affirmative action, it's not even about race. A lot of affirmative action programs did not target specific races, quote unquote. It targeted states that were poor. It was about poverty. The idea was that people from poor areas also deserve opportunity when it comes to jobs, when it comes to education. That's what I will.
Ruler and ruled must stand in harmony.
I'm sorry, but if you don't think that people from poor areas deserve an education, deserve a job, deserve opportunity, then we're just going back to a class system. It's just based on wealth instead of status that you're born into.
You're not going to
Which wealth is also a form of status that you're born into. So
be discriminated against because you don't look like everybody else, or you don't have the same physical abilities as everybody else, or you may require handles on the bathroom or whatever it is. That's what DEIA does. But does it make a government better if there's a broad representation of the people it's supposed to govern? Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Regardless of DEI, don't we already have things in our Constitution that protects people's rights, protects people?
No, we don't, actually. I mean, by we, I mean the people of the United States. No, that's not a thing.
We don't?
No.
Do we or do we not?
No, we do not. Tell me what protects people from discrimination in housing and in work and hiring or getting loans. It's all statutes. And in these government agencies, there was nothing except for that order. That's why Trump
I do have family in America.
just rescinded it.
I'm gonna tap out because I think someone else.
Uh-oh, I'm gonna tap out.
Rescinded it. In these government agencies, there was it's all statutes. And in these government agencies, there was nothing except for that order. That's why Trump just rescinded it.
I'm gonna tap out.
This is brilliant that people just don't know anything and they just ask questions very smugly. But it's already in the Constitution, isn't it? We're all protected in the Constitution. Well, no, actually. Oh, whoop.
Because I think someone else has a better can defend that point specifically better than me.
All right, please return to your seat.
There is no defending this point, by the way.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Okay, when it comes to DEI, essentially, if a person was not racist, he would hire someone regardless, right? So why would we need a policy?
No, it's more than that. It's more than just if the person was not racist. It's that the person, again, by the circumstance of their birth, it doesn't have to have anything to do with race. The person, by the circumstance of their birth, did not have the extra activities, did not have the opportunity for education. Sometimes people have to work through school, etc. And again, I pose this question: does that mean that they don't deserve a job, that they don't deserve education? Is that the Is that really the conclusion that we should be coming to? Considering that, again, I will repeat it for the third time, I think. A lot of affirmative action programs did not target specific races, quote unquote. They targeted poor areas. They targeted people that were stricken with poverty. So a lot of white people were part of the affirmative action programs.
Policy to protect a person if we've moved past racism. So
Also,
would you
it's a joke. What a joke to say that we've moved past racism. What a joke.
consider yourself racist?
Wait, are you suggesting we've moved past racism?
Would you consider yourself racist?
I consider myself, and sometimes I think we all practice like some form of, white supremacy. I think actually like we all do to some degree.
Well, I'm glad that you're saying that. So I guess going to the LGBT topic, it seems like it's very prevalent for you as an issue.
Well, it seems like a big issue. I mean, the Republican Party spent literally hundreds of millions of dollars demonizing trans people.
Well, the reason why they've done something like that, and I think you're misconstruing the narrative, they haven't demonized them. They simply want protections back for their own children, because children are being stripped away from
Who's
their
their
parents.
own children? Wait,
Parents?
children are being stripped away from their parents?
Yes, due to AB 954, they've now included gender identity as a premise to remove and strip parental rights for children who maybe they are rejecting their gender ideology.
So, but you'd be okay with parents who agree with their...
What is gender ideology? Already we're saying, like, what the hell is gender ideology?
their children's doctors to provide gender-affirming care.
I do not agree with that. Do you?
I believe that parents and doctors can make those decisions with the kids,
If a child can't smoke, drink, or have sex before the age of 18, they should not be able to consent to a sex change.
That is stupid. That is a very stupid. I could make the same argument and say, if a kid can't drink, smoke. Okay, I'm gonna listen to this again.
Now, in sex before the age of 18, they
with the kids,
if a child can't smoke, drink, or have sex before...
If the child can drink, smoke, and have sex before 18, then the child cannot consent to having a life-saving surgery. There you go. Also, kids can have sex before 18. It's not illegal for children to have sex before... I'm pretty sure if two 17-year-olds meet and have sex, they're not gonna get arrested, right? Like, I'm pretty sure teens can have sex with other teens and it's not illegal. Like, it's illegal for before 18 to have sex with adults, but not with other teens. I'm not, like, if two 16-year-olds have sex, I don't think the police is gonna bust in and be like, you're under arrest. Okay? That's not happening. I think. Is it happening in the United States? Should then also not be allowed to vote once you are 18? True, you should not. You should be able to vote once you're 21.
Before the age of 18, they should not be able to consent to a sex change. Now, in terms of a DEI...
Also, gender-affirming care is not strictly sex change, okay? It can be transitioning socially, changing the way you dress, changing your name, going on puberty blockers. Those are not sex change procedures, so that argument is right away straight out of the window. And then once you're on puberty blockers for some time, you can start going on hormones, which is still not is considered a sex change, because the sex change is usually what people talk about when they say sex change. What they talk about surgeries usually. So already this person is just showing that once again people have no clue what they're talking about, but they always have the strongest of opinions about it.
In terms of a DEI initiative, the reason why there's military bans on trans women and trans men is because they do not have the ability to cooperate at a mental capacity when they're constantly undergoing hormone treatment as well as...
What? Are you insane? Citation needed? What do you mean they don't have the... I'm sorry, what? That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard, I think. You know what that means? You know what this person literally is saying? I'm gonna tell you what this person just said. In practice, children undergoing puberty should not be playing team sports because they have no capacity for cooperation when they're being flushed with hormones. That is basically what this person just said. When teens undergo puberty, when kids enter puberty, they should be banned from team sports because they just don't have the mental capacity for cooperation. There you go. We don't even have to be talking about any birth controls or anything. All kids, all teens that enter puberty should be banned from, they all should be banned from the team sports because they just don't have the mental capacity for cooperation because of all the hormones that are flushing their bodies. It's, of course, it makes perfect sense. It's just so logical. Why didn't I think of that? Oh wait, it's just stupid. It's just stupid. Oh my God. I've told you a million times, and I'm afraid I'm gonna be repeating it like a broken record. People have no clue what they're talking about, and they have so strong opinions on it. Do you think they even think about that? That's their problem. That's the biggest problem. People don't think at all. People just have vibes and then strong opinions. It's the trans hormones. It doesn't matter. Like, people just don't know what they're talking about. And they confidently spout nonsense smugly. Everything is just vibes though. Yeah, but some of the vibes you can actually back up with something, anything, okay? There are vibes that are just taken straight out of your ass, and there are vibes that you can actually present anything outside of your ass to back it up, okay? Well, you know what? I like it when the vibes are demonstrated by some sort of facts, you know, some sort of demonstrative facts, not just out of a person's ass. I like it when people know what they're talking about, okay? I like it when people even remotely look into the thing that they are criticizing. That is a thing that I like very much when it happens.
Depression pills as well as different mood stabilizer pills. And so when you go out to combat, do you really think you're going to bring an ice cooler pack with your, whether that be hormone estrogen or whatever?
Hormone estrogen. There you go. The person just demonstrated the level of their knowledge on the subject. Hormone or estrogen or whatever. If it's a hormone or estrogen.
Maybe with your whether that be hormone estrogen or whatever it may be, while you're about to shoot someone of the opposing...
As opposed to the non-hormone estrogen.
Well, the executive orders that Trump gave were DEIA orders that had to do with agencies that have nothing to do with the military.
Yes, they do. Yes, they absolutely do.
The FDA, they just revoked the ability of the Air Force to teach Air Force members about the Tuskegee Airmen.
Well,
Like, what are we talking about here?
Okay, well...
Honestly, like, they're rewriting history.
Well, that's your perspective, right? But
that's your perspective.
At the end of the...
Like, Airmen of the Air Force, FDA, they just revoked the ability of the Air Force to teach Air Force members about the Tuskegee Airmen.
Well,
Like,
we're not...
what are we talking about here?
Okay, well...
Honestly, like, they're rewriting history.
Well, that's your perspective, right? But at the end of the day, if a person...
Tuskegee Airmen, we can all agree, existed, right?
Just listen to this. If
I'm not sure how to spell it. This is it. Tuskegee Airmen. The Tuskegee Airmen were a group of primarily African-American military pilots and airmen who fought in World War II. They formed the 332nd Fighter Group and the 477 Bombardment Group. So now you know why they're being arrested. It's a military aircraft unit made up of black people.
If you were racist, right, and you were an employer, and if you wanted to absolutely be racist and exercise that, you would. I think DEI sort of prevents people from seeing the reality. If a person truly wanted to hire you based on your intellect, based on your skill set, they would. DEI essentially provides tax cuts. For the end of the year, when you create your tax returns, they give you a tax credit for hiring someone who is black or a person of color. I don't know if you knew that.
In these agencies?
In agencies and private
In government
businesses.
agencies, they don't get tax cuts for hiring people
And
of
the other
color.
thing I
This
wanted
is
to,
to
and I,
protect
the other
people
thing I
from
want
discrimination.
to the other thing I want to kind of state here is that I've realized that a lot of the times with the liberals is that you guys push for example, for DEI and people of Latino or Hispanic descent. And a lot of the times what you don't realize is you're actually doing more harm than good, by putting them in positions where you make them believe that it's based on the color of their skin. It's based on
DEIA does not is not.
It's based on merit. DEI emphasizes color, skin color,
No,
physical
it
attributes.
says that the people who work in your agency, it's about anti-discrimination.
Discrimination against what?
Against people who may have different cultural mores, may have different.
But that's irrelevant to a job, right? It should be based on merit. And that is the emphasis here.
So yes, merit means being born into a wealthy family that again can give you extra activities, that can drive you to school, that can buy you books, that can sit with you and help you with homework. That's merit. That's merit. And if you go to university, it helps to get some extra points if your parent attended the same university. That's also merit. What is merit? I have to ask at that point.
You get hired
What
as
the hell is merit?
a merit, but if the DEI,
excuse me,
if the DEIA, I'm talking about Trump's rescission of
If
these
you
orders
received a
on
tax
these
cut as
agencies.
an employer, wouldn't you hire a person of color?
Dude,
If you could pay them less?
listen, we're talking about government agencies that do not get tax cuts. They don't. Government agencies.
They don't.
No,
Yes, they do. They absolutely do.
I'm talking about
Every
parts of-
private and public sector gets tax cuts when you hire a person of color.
Government agencies don't pay taxes. Government agencies operate are funded by the government.
That is not true. That is
Wait, government agencies are not funded by the government? Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh no. Oh wow, I almost swore right there. This is the Trump voters. This is the face of a Trump voter. Government agencies are not employed by the government. What the hell? I have to listen to this again. It's called a government agency. Wow. Okay. Oh. Wow.
That is not true. And
Government agencies don't pay taxes. Government agencies are funded by the government.
that is not true. That is not.
Government agencies are not funded by the government. Well, who funds the government? Does this person think that government agencies are private companies?
Not true. And you know what? I think the whole juxtapose of this entire conversation.
What month is this?
This is January.
Okay, so we can agree on that. The FDA does not pay taxes. It does not get a tax cut because it doesn't pay taxes.
Oh my God.
DEIA forces them as an agency to say if you have a job opening, you must do your best efforts to make sure that every
I like that. I
part
love
of
me a
society.
buzzword. You must do your best effort. I love that buzzword.
Okay, pause.
Because you feel like you have to. You're pressured to.
Pause.
Yes.
What? What is this person saying?
Shouldn't be a buzzword.
Okay, pause.
I like that.
Part
I love
of you must, as an agency, to say if you have a job opening, you must do your best efforts to make sure that every
I like that. I
part
love
of
me a
society.
buzzword. You must do your best effort. I love that buzzword.
Okay, pause.
Because you feel like you have to. You're pressured
Pause.
to.
Yes.
You shouldn't be pressured to hire someone based on skin color.
No, not to hire someone
Oh
with skin
my
color,
God.
but put up notice about that the job exists. Make sure that you put it in different communities so that you have as wide an application pool as possible.
And therefore you get
All
tax
right.
cuts.
All right, return to
At
your
the
seat.
end of the year when you file taxes, you get a tax cut for hiring someone who speaks
Please
a different
return to your
language.
Oh my god, this is embarrassing. Oh no. Oh my god. Sam Seder is just appalled, isn't he? It's like, what the hell's happening? What the hell's happening? A government agency is just getting that tax cut.
Or different skin color.
I don't know how to respond to that. How you doing?
So I want a little bit more clarification because I don't even know if we got it yet on which part benefits corporations, like from your
Okay,
perspective.
so agencies, the U.S. government agencies, the vast majority of them, what they function to do is inhibit corporations from essentially externalizing their costs onto society.
Sure.
So the example would be, I used it before, but it's a good one. I'm making Teflon, C8, for instance, okay? And C8 is supposed to be burned because instead of deposited, because it's a forever chemical. And I can go out and instead of burning it, it's too expensive to burn it, I'm going to dump it into a river. And the EPA comes in and says, you can't do that. We're going to fine you. You're not allowed to do this. But what the companies doing when they do that is they're going to take the profits that come with lowering their costs by dumping it into the river, and those costs are then borne by everybody who lives around that river. They're going to get cancer, they're going to get gastrointestinal problems, whatever it is, and society bears the cost of that.
Can you connect the dots for me, though? Because it sounds like we're talking about something completely different.
And so the DEIA stuff is just the beginning of demoralizing these agencies and trying to wreck them from the inside. It's all part of Russell Vought's thing, the OMB, the whole Schedule F, where they get rid of civil servants and they demoralize people and they don't want them to be able to function.
So then, would you agree if this is about demoralizing? I mean,
people don't know what DEI is.
75 million people
all.
voted for Trump, right? They won the popular vote.
Really
Do you not think that in part, you even said yourself that Americans don't really know what DEIA is, according to your definition of it?
Well, the government's definition of it.
Okay, well, I would argue that the average American is demoralized
by the lack of knowledge, I know.
What they've seen, the way that the government goes about their DEI policies and the military and other organizations, not just the military.
Please return to your seat.
Okay.
Hey, before we go any further, we want to take a moment to say thanks so much to Straight Arrow News for powering the fact checks in this video. Straight Arrow News is an app and website that is on a mission to raise the bar on journalism in a time of media bias and mistrust. Their team of journalists believe that unbiased news should be the standard and not just the exception, so they report down the middle with facts, delivering news without bias, filter, or spin. Plus, their Media Mist tool allows you to discover news that's being underreported or not even reported at all by different sides of mainstream media. That's why we're so happy to be partnering with Straight Arrow News. The work they're doing gives us a complete picture of the news straight from our phones and tablets with their app. Go to san.com/surrounded or click the link in the description to check it out. By clicking that link, you're not just supporting this channel, you're also supporting a group of journalists that are raising the bar on news and focusing on serving you unbiased, straight facts. Thanks again to Straight Arrow News for partnering with us on this episode. Now let's get into it.
My next claim is, unless you're a billionaire, a religious fundamentalist, or a xenophobic nationalist, voting for Trump was a mistake.
Okay, so let's tackle one aspect, religious fundamentalists. What benefit would religious fundamentalists get? And also, can you define what is a religious fundamentalist?
And maybe you could say more of like a Christian nationalist.
Okay.
In this instance. But things like, the attacks on trans folks, the attacks on a woman's right to choose, the idea that we're going to get stuff like an enhanced RFRA, which is going to mean that if you're a pharmacist and you don't want to provide birth control, you may not have to.
Don't you think you're assuming that
if you believe that public education, we should take that money and pour it into religious schools, you're gonna get a benefit out of a Trump administration.
Yeah, but don't you think you're assuming that the vast majority of Americans who are moderates?
What do you think you're gonna get?
Hold on. This guy again? Why is this guy back? He was already talking. What's wrong? Why is this guy back? He dipped.
Out of the Trump administration.
Economic relief. That was
what kind of economic relief? They're going to cut Social Security. You're going to have to pay for your parents. They're going to cut when they.
This guy is mad. This guy is does not agree.
When they go after the agencies like they're going after, right? This is outlined in Project 2025. Russ Vought, who's going to be the OMB head, he was the OMB head the first time around. He wrote all the book on this stuff.
Okay, well, you bring up Project 2025.
When you cut when you cut agencies and go after them, and you fire all the inspector generals so that they're not being able to make sure that the agencies are working, who do you think profits from that? It's corporations. They're going to go after agencies that make sure your food is not full of botulism, that your air is not full of mercury, that your water is not full of C8. This is what they're going to do. Agencies exist to curb corporations from externalizing their costs and privatizing their profits. So it may be cheaper for a company to dump their chemicals into a river than it is for them to dispose of it in a safe way. And so they get the profits from that, but the costs are borne by society. They're borne by society in the form of, like, people get cancer. They're borne by society in terms of, like, we've got to do the cleanup. That's what agencies do.
Pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
It's good.
It's
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Okay, so I would like to touch on the religious fundamentalist aspect.
Yeah.
Are you an atheist?
I'm a Reformed Jew. I don't have a strong belief in the existence of God, but I don't think that religion in and of itself is bad.
Okay, so what's wrong with religious fundamentalists? So, like, you said trans rights and women's rights or something like that?
Well, the problem I have with religious fundamentalists, and really more, I guess it's really theocrats, is that they want to impose their morality that comes from their religion on the rest of us, and I don't.
But morality, from your view, is going to be a preference, right? It's not morality; it's a preference. So morality without a foundation is going to reduce you to a preference.
Well, I have a foundation for my morality.
I mean, you can choose your religion. So in that sense, even having a religion, even when you have a religion, your morality is a preference. You just prefer the morality of your particular religion. But you have to choose that religion, right? You choose a religion. It's not ingrained in your DNA, being Christian or Jewish or anything, like believing in Judaism or believing in Christianity or believing in Buddhism or whatever. It's not ingrained in you. You choose that morality system. So it's a preference, all the same. So that's a pretty empty argument.
Which is what?
It's a humanist vision of what basically creates as little suffering as possible for as many people.
Okay, so you're like a consequentialist, utilitarian?
I don't really bother myself with being a consequentialist or a utilitarian.
It's always going to reduce you to a preference. So if you say that killing is wrong and I say it's right, you would really have no contention with that.
Well, no, I don't base my understanding of civil society on religion. And so we have a civil society. Okay. We have laws that we have decided as a society in a democratic way. And for some people, it's okay for it to be informed by their religion. That's okay.
Okay, perfect. So if tomorrow society comes together and we say, hey, trans folks don't deserve rights, you would be okay with that?
No, I would be against it, but I mean it would be
morally right under your view.
Not morally right. No. I'm not talking about morals.
Okay,
here.
so here's where I'm getting to, right? Religious foundations provide an ethical framework for one to live their life off.
I believe you can have an ethical framework without religion.
And if we take the leftist view to its logical tail end, to its extreme view, you have low reproductive birth rates, you have a reproductive dead end, so two men together can't reproduce unless they have to take from a healthy straight couple. Religion provides this foundation where you do prioritize the nuclear family.
So do you have a problem with gay people being married?
It's not that I have a problem, I just don't see a justification.
There you go, yeah.
For white.
He's basically saying my preferred morality should be the standard because I have a book that is written down in.
They ought to be gay outside of it just feels good. Can you give me another justification for it?
Well, I think maybe that's the way they were born.
Okay, what about pedophiles? Are they born that way?
They may be, yeah.
Okay, so should we let a pedophile off the hook since they were born that way?
No, I think we as a society
should implement duties to prevent them from acting on that innate urge.
Yes, because homosexuals hurt people just the same way as pedophiles do. That is a perfect comparison.
Correct?
Well, I think between consenting adults, it's a different thing than.
Okay, so you're okay with a 45-year-old dad with a 19-year-old daughter as well? Incest?
No.
If they consent, you're okay with that?
No, I think society has also determined that it's like it's not beneficial.
Right. There's duties and obligations that we have. So religion provides those duties. Life isn't about freedom and exercising what you want.
I mean,
What? Life isn't about freedom?
you want to impose your religious doctrine
No,
on me,
because
and I don't want that.
you just admitted we need duties. We have responsibility as a society to keep us functioning, to keep us thriving. Your leftist view, the liberal view, doesn't provide anything besides it just makes me feel good. Religion does. So what's your argument?
What's my argument as to why I don't want
you have no
religion to? Well, because first of all, I don't think that you have the right to corner what God is telling us is right or wrong. And there are differences between religions. And so my argument is, like, you're not going to keep halal or kosher, right? I mean, I don't believe that someone has a corner on religious truth. And the reason why we have a democracy is because we didn't want a king. And the kings came from the idea that their God said that they're the ones who's supposed to be king. And so we can disagree on this. I don't want to live in a country that is ruled by religious fundamentalists.
And if I do, you have no issue with that.
And no. And this is why I say.
Yeah, exactly. He is spitting right now.
Under Trump.
He's spitting right now. This is just silly. Like, religious morality is just as much a preference as any. If we're going with that argument, because you choose your religion. You choose the religion that you believe in at the end of the day. Okay? So let's not pretend.
Yes, you have one.
Yes.
You have a
Only
bunch
male
of Christian.
and female. You're right.
You have a Christian nationalist, and
which is necessary.
And so I concede the point that under Trump, your Christian nationalism has gained an advantage under this.
Sorry, we're going to have more kids. We're going to have less abortions. We're going to have more family. We're going to have stable family households. Sorry about better education.
People, gay people.
Better education has nothing to do with it. It's just unrelated.
People should be outlawed.
They should be straight. They should be straight.
Women should be secondary.
Oh, gay people should be straight. Perfect. They should be straight. Okay. Got it. Trans people should be just cis, I guess. Gay people should be straight. Cis people should be... This is just... I'm sorry. I cannot treat this seriously. This is just silly. This is just silly talk. And tall people should be short, and short people should be tall, and sure.
To their husbands.
Women should submit to the husbands. That doesn't mean they are slaves.
Right,
it doesn't mean they are slaves. It means they are protected. Okay, let me ask you then. Let me ask you.
No.
Should women be drafted? Should women be drafted?
Listen, I think...
If they're equal, should they be drafted?
I think this is the vision that you have, and I think Trump supports it.
Yes.
I think the Christian nationalists he has throughout his government are all going to work towards your vision.
Yes.
And my hope is that when people look at this, they say, hey, wait a second. I don't want my life to be dictated by the notion of a Christian nationalist prescription. Now, you may win out. I mean, certainly, like if you look at a country like Iran, they have a theocracy there, and apparently that's good for them if they want it.
My final point is whenever
but I don't want to live in a theocracy.
My final point is whenever we see people live out Christian values to its full extent, we see a great society. When we see people deviate from that, that's where all the problems arise.
All right,
I think you are at home in the Trump.
Thank you very much.
You've been voted out. Please return to your seat.
Sorry, guys.
Walls are your first line of defense. But if they are breached, retreat and regroup inside the settlement to defend it.
I think I have an issue with the implications of the prompt. I mean, of course, I'll stick on the religious fundamentalism.
Of course.
I think it's unfair to view Christianity.
Okay, it's unfair to view Christianity
separated from the ideology that Christianity informs, right? You have an ideology that you vote upon because you view it to be the truth that benefits everyone in a society. That's how a democracy works. I, as a Christian, have an ideology that informs my opinions, and I believe that it is the most moral and correct way for a society to function. So I think if we put religious fundamentalism in a box where you say any moral implications that I draw from this, religion is unable to be voted upon, unable to be pushed onto you because simply it's a religion, is unfair to view it that way. religion is an ideology like all ideologies are. You know, it's you vote away.
I don't mind you. I don't dispute the idea that you could have a religious ideology and want to see it imposed upon others, and it's not inconsistent with my claim. My claim is that Donald Trump is ushering in an element of Christian theocracy that you know, I can't remember his name, and you may be excited about, but I'm not excited about it. I don't think the vast majority of Americans are, but maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I don't think this country was set up to be a theocracy, and I find it problematic that it will be. But others will be happy about it.
I think it's unfair as well to label any morals that comes from religion inherently immediately theocratic. Like having a theocracy is something different than having.
I think love thy neighbor is a good precept, and I don't know that we should necessarily legislate it, but I think it's a good precept. I think there are things from religion that are good. I interviewed Desmond Tutu years ago, who said that, you know, religion can be you know, is like a knife. It can be used to spread butter, or it could be used to stab people. But that doesn't mean that I want religious doctrine to be the same as the law of the land. We have a democracy, and it was founded on trying to get out from some type of like religious oppression, which means one religion shouldn't dominate in this country. That's my sense.
Yeah, and I see that, but I think I have an issue with where you would perceive religious doctrine is derived from, right? A guy doesn't, at least in Christianity, a guy doesn't go in a room and come out and say that he is a secret message from God that everyone now has to follow. Religious doctrine is ruled over, it's reasoned over, the same way any ideology is discovered.
I'm not talking about the validity of religious doctrine. I'm talking about religious doctrine supplanting democracy and civil society.
And I'm saying that religious doctrine is democratic inherently, and in the way that you.
Well, I mean, look, we can have a debate as to whether or not women should be subservient to men. I don't think they should be. And
Ideology is a misunderstanding of reality. I mean, is it? What do you mean? I'm gonna have to have convenient style, like, I don't know. I'm gonna need to have you elaborate. What do you mean by that?
Do you fear death? Such empty words.
I'm gonna need you to elaborate on the ideology is a misunderstanding of reality. By which I mean that looking at society, movement structure in terms of ideologies is simply false. Okay, you're gonna have to elaborate once again.
I will avenge my past defeat.
Hold on.
democracy, I don't think it's healthy.
Right, but when you said earlier with him that someone shouldn't have I don't know the exact word, like a chokehold on what is, you know, religious truth and what isn't religious truth, that's not how religious truth itself works, and that's not how religious truth is brought to the political table to have that work either, right?
I don't know, when Pete Hegseth is in a bar yelling, you know, we're going to kill all Muslims.
Well, that's, yeah.
I mean, well, yeah, but now he's in charge of the largest military in the history of the world. I think, and he's informed by his Christian nationalism. I think that's a problem.
Right. Well, but
we can disagree on that.
Yeah, we don't take...
Pause. You've been voted out by the majority.
Thanks, Sam.
Okay, so Eleazar mentioned his views on gay marriage, and I saw that you believe that essentially conservatives don't believe that gay marriage should be allowed. I want to ask everybody in this room, is there any law or legislation that Donald Trump has passed to prohibit same-sex marriage in the last 4 years? Okay. Is there anyone in here who would potentially oppose two people kissing in public that are of the same sex?
I mean, isn't there a whole thing being pushed in the government right now in the US to do away with gay marriage? Is that not a thing? Am I being am I being duped?
You could raise your hand if you want. Yes, in public, kissing in public. No law against it, just your own opinion. Okay, so these are all people's opinions, right? The same way you have your opinions about Christians is the same way these people
What? My general just run away.
are allowed.
No, I don't have a problem with Christians.
Well, you do not believe that theology should be at its as a.
We should not have a theocracy.
Correct. And so what I'm saying is, I think that Christianity.
We should not have a theocracy. No, ideology doesn't move people. It is simply what they state after the fact. I mean, after what fact? What do you mean by after the fact? Because it feels like you're just doing the what was first, the egg or the chicken. chicken or the egg?
Catholic. I think that Christianity is, I think, fundamentally very important to
What do you
instill
mean by
family
after the
values
fact?
in myself as well as every person who wants to have children. Now let's talk about.
I'm okay with that too.
Let's talk about Order 14,166. That is an executive order that Donald Trump just imposed on identifying what is male and female. So I
There
personally
you go. Trans issues once again enter the fray.
believe, as well as many transsexuals, friends of mine believe that a woman is a biological female, as well as a man being a biological male. You are assigned what you are at birth. You are not assigned your gender later on. What you choose to express is something
Well,
that
that's great, but the executive order does not distinguish between gender and sex, first of all. It says that the executive order says that there are only two genders, male and female. At least Trump worded it that way. I mean, yeah, what pushed them to state some sort of ideology wasn't the ideology itself. Well, yeah, people have bigoted beliefs, and then they build whole ideologies around it. Yeah, like people are like, gay people disgust me, trans people disgust me, therefore I make it my ideology. No, right?
that is similar to wearing a garment, similar to what you decide to put on your face. And I don't think there should be laws or legislations dictating people or imposing laws to manipulate children, for example, to castrate their bodies at such a young age.
Okay, first of all, no children undergo bottom surgeries, and people don't get manipulated into being trans. It's something that you just experience. You don't get manipulated. It's not, you're not wearing a piece of clothing. Gender dysphoria, for one, is a very real condition. That guy again, yes, this guy again.
50% of
Do
children.
you know how many children are treated over the past 5 years? Let's say, I think it was from 2018 to 22. There was a study that just came out from Harvard. Do you know how many children received gender-affirming care, but broken down into puberty blockers and then hormones?
Give me the numbers.
You
since
tell
said-
me. I'm curious.
Well,
because,
I'm curious because you're bringing it up.
No, I have the numbers.
Okay, tell me.
I do, but
Tell
I'm
me.
curious if you know.
Tell me what the
I
numbers are.
promise to tell you after you tell me what
No,
you think it
I'm not
is.
I'm not gonna play that game.
Because I have a feeling
not
you-
playing-
I'm not gonna play the game of you expecting me to know what I'm talking about. No. You should learn by now that I have my vibes and I don't really have to know any of the numbers. Okay.
No, I am playing this game because
Why?
I think you think it's much higher. When you tell me that kids are being castrated, I know you don't really know what these numbers are. And I do know these numbers.
Okay, well, I can tell you this much.
What?
It was reported that scientifically, every single child who has received gender-affirming care, about roughly 50% of them regret it. And 50% of them are suicidal because of it. They're actually more depressed because of it.
How many of those kids? How many?
A psychologist,
How
by the
many
way.
over the course of 5 years?
Well, tell me.
You tell me. Just give
I
me
know
a
what you're trying to
ballpark.
do. You're trying to put me in this chokehold of like,
No, I'm
I
not trying to
gotcha
put you in a
moment.
No, this is definitely a gotcha
No.
moment because I'm suggesting to you that you think this problem is much bigger than
It is a huge problem.
Okay.
Medi-Cal, you know, Medi-Cal covers inmate trans women.
I understand that, yes. And I know
medical coverage.
one person has had that surgery.
I don't understand how my taxes should go for an inmate prisoner
if
who
you
wants
have
to transition.
There you go. There you go. They don't know what they're talking about. Why should a prisoner be able to be themselves? Prison inmates, we all know they're not human. They don't deserve any consideration. Why should any taxes go toward inmates? They're not human. They're in jail. About every single child, about 50% of them. You can't be for real. Listen, 50% is about every single person, okay?
Well, I think because
50% of the time it works every time.
we got to do health care for
No,
prisoners,
Gavin
and you
Newsom-
don't consider
Gavin
it real
Newsom-
health care. But
Gavin
hold on, I
Newsom
don't want
has
to get
imposed
listen,
$2.6
it's
billion in
900 kids
2022.
over 5 years.
That is a lot of
received
children.
Puberty blockers.
That is a lot of children.
900
AB
kids over 5 years.
547 just
Do you know
passed,
how many,
including
do you know
gender
how many kids
identity,
died during COVID?
gender identity,
All right.
to allow children
10
to be
kids a
separated from
month
their
die
parents just
from
due to not
accidental
affirming their gender
gun deaths.
identity.
But here's the point. Listen, Trump how is he hurting these people? He just rescinded the ability of the Labor Bureau to investigate discrimination in workplace. Are you for trans people being discriminated in workplace?
They're never being discriminated. Hold
Are
on.
you for trans people being discriminated?
Trans people have never been discriminated in the workplace. By the way, did you know that my parents have a friend that is a trans woman, and that trans woman has 2 highly specialized degrees, university degrees, and she just cannot find a job, and she lives in a shack. Yeah, there's definitely no workplace discrimination against trans people. That's not happening. Never. Never, ever. It's rather that all prisoners not live anymore. I mean, yeah. How dare my tax dollars go towards anything for inmates? They're not human. Like this, what? They're all trying so hard to get a soundbite to get ridiculed by a right-wing media group. I'm telling you, right-wingers saw this and they assumed Sam Seder was the conservative because they said those people are so stupid.
Very passionate about that question, and can I answer it? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I believe that affirmative action should be...
It's not affirmative action.
Oh, then what is it?
It's anti-discrimination.
Oh
it's not saying that you have to hire
Hold on.
trans people.
Okay,
it's
well, hold
saying
on.
you can't fire someone when you find out they're trans.
Okay, well, hold on a minute. So when you hire someone, or when you
Affirmative
interview someone, for
action.
example, you are supposed to interview them based on their knowledge and their work ethic, not based on sex.
I'm not saying affirmative
based
action.
on their sexual
Are you
orientation.
allowed to fire them if you find out they're trans?
If you need to, then you should. If you need to, then
Right,
you should.
so we have a disagreement.
All right,
I don't
pause.
believe people should be discriminated against.
Pause.
And that's not discrimination. It's based on your knowledge, not what you sleep with, not who you sleep with.
What?
Just saying.
Not what you sleep with. Oh, that's not really stupid. I have to abandon it.
Hi.
Sam.
So I actually think that this liberal world order needs to be thrown away completely. And
Oh my god, a Russian simp is in the audience. Oh my god, the liberal world order has to be thrown away. What are we gonna hear? Like a bunch of Russian talking points?
I think Christian nationalism would be a good alternative. What we're seeing right now is
And
just
congratulations.
Yeah, and thank you. And yeah, I think what we're seeing right now is a culture of death. This is the most suicidal generation ever. We have millions of children dying by abortion. People aren't even reproducing. We don't even have like a...
Should we mandate people reproduce?
No, I don't think we need to mandate. We can just stop them from killing their kids.
That's called mandating people to reproduce, by the way. That is literally what it is.
There are like...
She doesn't know what any of those words mean, so...
Want to outlaw abortion?
Yes.
Yes, I mean, we have a fundamental disagreement on this, and my claim was that if you voted for Trump, it would be to your benefit if you want to outlaw
I think it would
abortion.
I think it would benefit everyone.
Yeah, I disagree. I think that that women should have the right to choose.
I think that it would benefit everyone to bring back the family unit, to stop having women just thrown into the workforce.
Maybe we shouldn't allow women to choose to divorce unless their husbands say it's okay.
True.
I mean, I don't really believe in divorce in general, so like.
There
sure.
you go.
All
There
right.
you
I mean,
have it.
this I think though reinforces my point that if you are
But it would be better for society. It would be better for everybody in society. And same with xenophobic what's the problem with xenophobic nationalism? Don't you think that's better for Americans in general?
No.
Like
xenophobic
yes.
It's horrible for America. Xenophobia is horrible especially for America, considering how America was created in the first place. What made America what it is. Xenophobia is the worst possible thing for America. She will parrot Dugin for sure. Oh yeah.
Is better.
We should have a coherent culture. Everyone should be a part of the same culture. We should have assimilation.
There you go. I already did the spiel at the beginning of this, okay? I already did a whole spiel about this before. Am I at war with this guy? No, this cannot be.
In excitement,
Am I actually at war with this guy now? Or no?
on the march, unite or die.
Or ask the founding fathers what they thought of the... Yeah, it's silly.
Do you get to choose what the culture is?
We already have a dominant culture
What is the
based
dominant
on
culture?
European and Christian values and identity. That is the dominant culture.
White
It's
Christian-
rooted in European identity.
White. So your argument is
That has been the dominant
it's-
culture.
Just to be
and
clear,
we're not letting people assimilate to that. We're saying you should keep your culture, and this is why our culture is so divided.
your argument is that Trump is good for those who want a dominant white European culture.
I mean, that is what America is. It's rooted in European identity and Christian values. That's what it has been. Would you really disagree with that? What is it then, if that's not the identity of America?
Well, I think the identity of
For the
America.
majority of time, America has been a country. You don't think that's been the identity?
Well, actually, no. I think actually the identity of America has been, for better or for worse, a melting pot in that regard.
Yeah, maybe since like the 1960s. Even then, even we had this idea of a melting pot literally means assimilation too.
No, it does not. I don't. It does not. It means. It doesn't mean assimilation.
There's barely anybody here.
Hold on.
Passion cannot burn indefinitely.
It means melting. It means you're.
What's that different word from assimilation? Jesus Christ, people are so dumb. Again, they don't know what they're talking about. Integration. There's a huge difference between integration and assimilation. Thank you. What is a European identity? There's no such thing as a singular European identity. That's also what it means when you put a bunch of ingredients of elements in a pot. Eventually the dish will get a different flavor, right? And then a lot of whatever you make gets different properties. Yeah, but the whole thing about a dish is not that all the ingredients become one singular ingredient. If you eat a good dish, you can say, oh, I can taste this in the dish, or I can taste that in the dish. You can still taste the individual ingredients in combination. That is the whole point, right? The ingredients don't melt into one big ingredient. That's silly, isn't it? A bit? Yeah, they still make some. Yeah, true, of course. Yeah, but you still have the individual. That's integration, okay? Yeah, of course, and that's integration. That those different cultures exist alongside one another, and together they create something else. Like people from all over the world. I've used this example before. Come to the U.S., introduce their dishes into the U.S., like the Chinese, the Vietnamese, Polish, or what have you, and then a unique spin is being put on these dishes, right? And that's American. And what this person is saying is that the Chinese should throw away all the Chinese dishes and just be European, whatever that means. They should not be there at all. All Americans should be white or something.
Assimilating to the dominant
But,
culture. Is that not
well,
what melting means?
No, it doesn't
and
mean
now
that you're
instead we're saying
assimilating
there's something
to
wrong
the
with xenophobia.
dominant culture. No, I mean, look, I got to be honest with you. You and I have a fundamental disagreement. We will never see eye to eye on this. It's a choice, and people. I think what you're expressing, though, is really what the Trump movement at its heart is about, and I think that's.
I disagree. I don't think Trump's anywhere close to being a Christian nationalist. That's ridiculous. Trump's basically a Democrat from 15 years ago when it comes to social
So you
issues.
don't think that he's conservative enough for you?
Oh, definitely nowhere close. No.
He's not xenophobic enough for you?
No, he's.
Oh my God, this is crazy. Trump's just not fascist enough for me. Trump's not near enough of a fascist for me. Why can't he be more like Adolf Hitler? Now that guy was cool.
He's trying to import a bunch of H-1Bs. Are you kidding?
Right. Oh, so you want to get them out too? Yeah. No, I mean, I think you're making my argument for me.
All right.
Well,
okay.
I'm just saying he's not even in this.
Oh my God.
My next claim is the GOP will destroy Social Security and health care. Nice to see you.
So, what if Social Security should go away? That's my question to you.
Yeah, what if those veterans shouldn't receive any benefits? What if the people with disabilities shouldn't receive any benefits? What if people with any chronic health problems should not receive any benefits? Have you considered that? Have you considered that if you cannot, pull yourself by your bootstraps, then you just shouldn't have a dime? Have you considered that? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. If you cannot pull yourself by your bootstraps, you just deserve to die in a ditch, I suppose.
Because Social Security keeps 2/3 of our elderly out of poverty. And not only does it keep our elderly out of poverty, it's essentially...
Elderly? What do you mean? They've served their purpose. They've breeded. They've contributed to the economy. They should be out. They should be... maybe they should just... Have you considered that maybe the elderly should be taken out back and dealt with? Have you considered that possibility? They actually do think this. I mean, at least this guy seems to think it when he's like, maybe the entirety of Social Security should just go away. That is what I'm hearing. Maybe they literally should just be taken out back once they reach a certain age.
A social insurance program that protects you if at the end of your life you don't have enough money to survive.
For right now, do you know that it's also the albatross around our generation's neck?
No, it isn't.
Okay, so
let me just explain this.
Well, you're going to go back to lecturing me about Social Security.
Well,
we don't
that's
have,
what we're talking about. Social Security.
Yeah, Social Security is one of the top 3 funded.
Social Security is almost the biggest thing that our government does.
Exactly, and we are more than $30 trillion in debt.
Well, first of all, Social Security cannot contribute legally to the deficit.
Because they don't even account it in the federal deficit every year.
That's correct.
We have 30 years. We're
self-funding. When Social Security started in 1936.
Oh my God. Again, people don't know what they're talking about and they're so confident about it. It's almost comical. It's almost comical how Trump voters have no clue what they're talking about. And then they just jump in, all gung-ho, and then it turns out they don't even have the basic knowledge about what they're talking about. It's, what the hell?
You have more workers than retirees because people haven't entered into retirement. By 1970, it was at 3.5 to 1. Now it's at 2.5 to 1. But productivity has increased during that time, so the amount of money paid into Social Security has been up there. The reason why we are running out of money just for the trust fund, not for Social Security, like I say, if we do nothing with Social Security now, it is statutorily unable to contribute to the debt. The math is right there. The reason why the trust fund...
Math? What are you, a nerd? Come on.
...fund is running out is because wealth inequality...
Come on, Sam Cedar, don't be a nerd. Math? Oh, oof. Oof. Oh, Sam Cedar, that's not good. Math. Nerd.
He has hoarded so much money above the cap.
You don't think it's because...
You're a nerd.
The government does a terrible job managing their money. They have a huge spending...
Oh my God. Should we need to tax the rich? I mean, that is true. Sometimes it becomes clear that some people do not want other people to be alive. Which game is this? It's Total War 3 Kingdoms. Like, this is so silly.
Problem and
we
they
could
go...
always do what Russia does. Fight income inequality by paying widows a lot of money for their dead husbands that have been sent to war. Russia, do it the Russian way.
Well, look at all this money we have for Social Security that's earmarked for 60 years from now that we're just going to spend on something right now.
40 years ago, they predicted this. This is an actuarial table. Accountants sit there and look at it. This is a very easy math problem.
Accountants in the government are always right? That's totally the thing that you're saying? That
oh my God, yes. The accountants in the government are totally lying in a big conspiracy to get you. Yes, of course. This is the next stage, okay, of what I'm talking about. People don't know what they're talking about, and when they are presented with facts, they just retreat to conspiracy, okay? Oh, so you trust these sources? Oh, so you trust these people? You trust these things? You don't trust my God, but you trust these economists? They just retreat to conspiracy, because there's nothing else that they have outside of it.
He's correct about money, right? That's why we have a $40 trillion debt problem.
The problem isn't the math with the $40 trillion debt problem. It's the you have tax
It's
cuts
the spending problem. I totally agree with you, which I would argue is part of why Social...
Oh my God. Oh boy.
Social Security's gone in the hole already.
That's simply not true.
Oh, okay. So we're out of money from the Social Security bucket.
No. Statutorily, by that I mean by law, Social Security pays for itself. If we do nothing, we do nothing, the 6.2% that your employer and your employee pays into it will pay out 78% of benefits starting in 2033.
And why is it going down? If everything's so much better, why is it only 78%?
If we raise the cap, there's a cap right now at $176,000. So for instance, if you make $100,000, you pay $6,200 into that.
A year,
but
yeah.
A year. But if you make $4 million, do you know how much money you pay into Social Security? $6,200.
And so why should wealthy people hang on? Why should wealthy people pay a higher percentage?
No, they should pay the same percentage. 6.2 on $400,000, 6.2 on.
Oh my God! Oh, what did I just hear? Oh my God! Why should the rich pay a higher percentage? Okay, now I'm just being dumbstruck. Okay, conservatives don't understand how percentage works. Oof, oof. Oh my God! Oh my goodness! Conservatives do not understand how what percentages are and how they work. Wow. I have to listen to this
$1 million
again.
percent.
Why should wealth
$100? Do you know how much money you pay into Social Security? $6,200.
And so why should wealthy people hang on? Why should wealthy people pay? And
how much money to that?
A year.
$100,000 right now at
78%.
If we raise the cap, there's a cap right now at $176,000. So for instance, if you make $100,000, you pay $6,200 into that.
A year,
but
yeah.
A year. But if you make $4 million, do you know how much money you pay into Social Security? $6,200.
And so why should wealthy people hang on? Why should wealthy people pay a higher percentage?
No, they should pay the same percentage. 6.2 on $400,000, 6.2 on $1 million.
And why should they pay even more money at all? Because they make more money? Again,
Oh my God, this is so... Why should they pay more at all? Because tax is percentage based, you idiot. How else would you tax people? Would you make it a fixed amount? How would that work? Does this guy want taxes to be a fixed amount that is affordable for the poorest in society? Therefore, what? What the hell? What is this guy's solution? Either for it to be a really big fixed number so that no poor person could ever afford to pay tax, or make it a really small number so that a lot less money would flow into the budget. This is brilliant, amazing. The rich should just hoard the money, should take it out of the system and just hoard it. This is amazing. Oh my God.
You fundamentally have this idea that because somebody... Okay, you have an idea that because somebody makes more money...
Progressive taxation? You mean woke taxation? Holy crap. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Holy moly.
That's fundamentally wrong, right?
No, I don't think it's
fundamentally wrong for taxes to be percentage based. That's fundamentally wrong.
War grows bitter.
Where are these people coming from? How did they find these people with sub-level IQs, with sub-level... Holy crap. Oh my God. I don't even know how to react to this appropriately. What kind of analysis can you apply to someone saying, well, it's just fundamentally unfair that tax is percentage based? Wow, this is amazing. I don't even know how this person envisions taxes to function.
Fundamentally wrong. I think that they should pay more taxes into it. Now, I do think as a society, we should not allow billionaires. So for instance,
they can pay more tax.
Maybe I'm just too much of a commie, but I do in fact think it's wrong for the wealthy to hoard money like dragons while people starve. You're a communist. It's a global race to the bottom, true. Tax should be $5. Yeah, it would be affordable for the poor and the rich. Great. Amazing. Amazing. And what an amazing idea. What an amazing concept. I'll be some weirdo libertarian. I cannot believe what I'm hearing.
Generally, but why should
the
they?
highest tax rate
hang on.
and the greatest expansion of our economy
Hang on,
in this
does a
country?
billionaire?
Oh my God.
get more money from Social Security if they went to go take it than I would.
No,
no, of course
it's
not. So why
insurance.
should they pay more?
I'll tell you why. Because it is a social insurance program that keeps you from being in poverty when you're a senior. And the reason why I think billionaires should pay more taxes than other people, even a higher percentage, is because it works better for society. The greatest expansion we've had in this country in terms of economics and the least amount of wealth disparity was in the 40s and 50s and 60s in this country. Do you know what the top marginal rate was?
It was high.
Do you know what it
I don't
was?
know the exact number, but
If you made over $470,000 in 1955, every dollar you would make above that was taxed at 90%.
So I have a question.
90 cents on every dollar was taxed above 470. So if we had
which is wild, by the way. But
and it's also the greatest expansion we had of the economy.
Yeah, you can expand for a time, and then you see places, you see like Nordic countries that were like, oh, let's tax the hell out of our rich people, right? And then they go, whoops, we messed up. We can't actually live off of our terrible, we basically are able to live off our economic boom that they had between like the 40s and the 90s.
What the hell? By the way, because people don't understand how percentages work, people don't realize that if you tax a billionaire 90%, they're still rich, okay? The 10% of billions upon billions of dollars is, let's just say, you're still rich, okay? You're still rich. You're still rich if you have 10% out of billions of dollars. People don't really realize that. People just see 90% and say, oh my God, that's wild. But it's 90% out of billions or millions. It's still a lot of money, okay? My grandfather used to be in the highest tax bracket. Yeah, because you have to reach that bracket, right? You have to make a certain amount to be in a certain bracket. If you don't make that amount, you fall to a lower bracket. That's how it works. You're not in a bracket for life. Your bracket is based on how much you earn. If you stopped earning this amount of money, you fall in a bracket, okay? Jesus.
And then we have to revert all of that because we made a terrible choice and we were able to have a party for 50 years until we realized we ran through all the money that capitalism got us. So let me ask you real quick. So the average person, right? Right now they fundamentally look at Social Security, young people like me, and they go, I'm going to have that money sitting waiting for me when I retire. Since your opinion is whatever works best for the average person is better, wouldn't you rather shift towards something that I would agree with, which is getting people that are 19, 20 years old into funding their own retirement rather than relying on other people to fund it for them?
You're talking like the 401k.
Oh my God. Pull yourself by your bootstraps, everybody. It's gonna work so well.
Sure. Not just the 401k, but for IRAs, any other type of retirement. Would you agree? Would we agree with that?
Social Security was set up as part of a three-legged stool where back in the day, when I was a kid, we had defined benefit pensions, where you'd know how much money you would get out. Yeah. That all shifted in the 80s to defined contribution, where you know how much you put in. The 401k started during that Reagan era. It has been a disaster because the fact of the matter, for better or for worse, people just don't save in the way that you're talking about.
Why?
It would be nice if they could.
If the government were changing the mindset and actually pushing that cultural shift towards, we're not just going to hand you money when you're sick.
True, we should push the mindset of pull yourself by your bootstraps because that works so well in life and it works perfectly well for everybody. You have a disability, pull yourself by your bootstraps. You have a debilitating chronic illness, just pull yourself by your bootstraps. You're not working hard enough. Have you considered walking it off? Because Social Security, believe it or not, is for people like that as well. Just walk it off. You'll be fine.
65, you have to plan for it right now.
We've had a 40-year experiment with the government affecting the cultural mindset, and it failed.
We've had a 40-year experiment of everybody. You know what my parents say? Do you know what grandparents say? They go, well, I'm just waiting for my Social Security check to come in, rather than I have $800,000 waiting for me because I thought about it when I was 19 and 20 because I didn't have this grab bag of money waiting for me. If
you're born in a poor neighborhood and you have to work part-time jobs to support your family, if you have to forego education, yeah, you're totally gonna be thinking about your big bag of money at 19 when you're gonna be older. Yes, that's perfect. That's perfect. That is absolutely how that works for everybody without exception. Wow. If more people are so stupid that they cannot just think like this guy. It's so brilliant. It's just brilliant. It's amazing. It's the best thing ever. Why don't people think in these terms? Why are people such silly billies? Why are people such silly billies? Just, have you considered pulling yourselves up by your bootstrappies? Since not everyone can save money, we should have a public option for poor people to survive. Look, surely you need to feed yourself and your children with your two jobs, but have you considered your stock portfolio? At 19 years old, by the way? Like, this is silly. This just assumes that all people are the same, all circumstances are the same for everybody, always. And if you don't arrive at the best possible if you just don't arrive at the best possible outcome, then you just didn't deserve it, I guess. Of course. Duh.
Hey, man,
that you're
it
assuming
would be
that young
great.
people
I
can't-
try and tell my kids.
So we
to
agree.
save
So we
money, too.
agree. We should get rid of Social Security and
No.
phase it out. Well, no. So we should.
Ridiculous. Really cannot pat on my life. That's not comfortable. Middle class. Yeah. It's silly.
Phase out. How would you listen to this idea? You phase out Social Security to where people who have 5 years left before they retire get 100% of the benefits, and then people like me who have 40 years until we retire,
Dude,
I'm not
I
going to
don't
get it.
wanna screw you.
I'm going to get screwed either way.
No,
you
you're
really,
not.
you really
No,
think
you're
I'm going to get
not.
Social Security someday?
I guarantee you, at the very least, you're going to get 78% of your benefits.
That's
if you
$1,000 a
join
year.
me
That's great.
In calling for
I love this response. I don't want to screw you. Oh gosh. Oh. Oink, 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 oink. Says the little piglet.
our government to increase the cap.
Conservatives need to learn empathy, literally. Okay. I mean, the conservative view is if you're homeless, then you just don't deserve a home, I guess, and you're subhuman. If you're addicted to drugs and you have problems holding a job, and again, that leads to homelessness, then I guess you just don't deserve to live or something. Like, this is just ridiculous. Maybe they should learn what a percentage is first. That would be a really good recommendation. I have a feeling that a great amount of Republicans would just benefit from some basic education, unironically.
In fact, get rid of the cap, then your grandkids will get Social Security.
I would much
100% of their
rather,
benefits.
and again, maybe we'll just disagree, but I would much rather result to, hey, 20-year-olds, please save for your own retirement, invest for your own retirement, because the government is bad at...
Pull yourselves by your bootstraps, because absolutely everybody in society has just these same opportunities.
A peace born of desperation, not resolution.
There really is, at least where I am in the States, a general idea that being poor is a moral failing. It's ridiculous. It's really stupid. I don't know how there's no other way to say it, okay? It's just really, really stupid.
Our work is done.
How can being poor be a moral failing? Oh, God.
At dealing with money.
And what happens
Don't
if they
rely on
don't?
them. What happens if what?
What happens if those 20-year-olds don't listen to you?
The same thing that happens if a 20-year-old just doesn't go and get a job because I tell them to.
No.
They're going to have a problem, but that's not my fault.
No, I get.
Yeah, it's just that simple. If you don't succeed in life, then that automatically means that you just didn't do the right thing. Okay? It's just, yeah, of course, naturally. If you're not a billionaire by the age 30 or 25, then you're just a failure and you deserve your lot. Obviously. So that is so simple. Okay? You just don't get it. Okay? You just don't understand basics of anything. Okay? You're just silly. You're just being a silly Billy again. Okay? Ridiculous. Why are you so ridiculous? They imagine it's because the poor just don't want to work. Of course. What the hell? Some people really do need to do a Freaky Friday.
News for you, it's not your fault, but there used to be in New York City 30,000 people sleeping
No one
on
in
the
this
Bowery
room was
before
alive before Social Security. We've all lived under this, just like the
and it
income
has
tax.
been the most successful government program in the history of our government.
Things that are
programs.
successful don't just start to die out and end up in the.
It's not dying out.
It's the grab bag of money, the massive.
What do you mean it's not dying out? Trump's getting rid of it, so it has to mean that it's dying out. These people are just stupid. I have no words. I have no words. Yeah, it does. I bet a person like this is anti-housing first policy for the homeless, by the way. I bet your ass that this person, if they hear housing first policy, first of all, they wouldn't know what it is. And if they knew, they would be against it. I would bet at least $10. That is the case. One moment. I'm gonna go to the toilet. Hello. Oh, Evotro, you're white. Consider not being white. But yes, it's like, I'm sorry it took so long, but at this point, me going to the toilet is not just going to the toilet. I have to pet the dog, give him a snack. I have to go look at his bowl, make sure that it has water in it. If it doesn't, I have to go to the toilet again, fill the bowl with fresh water, and put it for him. So a trip to the toilet is not just a trip to the toilet anymore. It's more. It's far more engaged than that. Oh my God. So many white people. It's not okay to be white. It's pretty sad how some conservatives don't value the lives of other people. Society should care for everyone. We must not be indifferent to others. Exactly. That is the main point. You should not be indifferent to other people. It's really weird. Society sort of, yeah, actually, I think it's a pretty universal thing internationally. That sort of, you get sort of guilted into thinking that just helping people is somehow bad, you know? It's a whole thing. It's like there's that thing ingrained into you that caring about others is a conflicting thing, sort of. That people just want to use you, and if they want your help, then that just means that they want to use you in some way, and you shouldn't. Let's not even get into that.
Excess that was there in the early years because of the 42-to-1 beneficial.
There wasn't a massive excess in 1936.
42-to-1 excess.
There weren't that many people who had entered into the Social Security program.
And the fact that
in 1970 it was 3.5 workers to 1. Now it's 2.5, but productivity has increased it. I've told you why the Social Security Trust Fund is running out. It is because of wealth disparity. Billionaires hiding and hoarding their money above the cutoff line, which is 176,000. That's the cap. If you remove the cap, your grandkids
billionaires aren't keeping.
Billionaires don't have billions in cash. Have you considered that they have stock? Oh my God. This guy's about to say it. I bet your ass this guy's about to say it. But have you considered that they don't have it all in cash? They actually have it all in stock. They have they have stock. It's not all in cash. They don't have a wallet full of billions of dollars. Have you considered this fact, Mr. Seder? Have you considered these facts of the matter? Have you ever considered
$1 billion under their mattress? They're investing it back into.
There you go. There you have it.
Just putting it into some stock market, or they're just looking around.
And what do you think a 401k or an IRA relies upon? It relies on the stock market and things like that.
Yeah, a 401k relies on the stock market, and I knew people who were retiring in 2008 when the stock market tanked, and they got.
Whoops. That backfired. That backfired really, really badly. See the American stock market crashing right. Be quiet, Mo. Be quiet. I already told you, the elderly should be taken out back to begin with. A retirement scheme is a luxury.
Screwed.
Well, that's a whole.
It's bad for the economy for money to just sit there and do nothing. I mean, that is true.
I would argue that's largely driven by the government being.
That is what Elon Musk, the brilliant entrepreneur Tony Stark, did by investing the money back in the economy by buying Twitter. Is that right?
Once again, terrible with policy and creating bad economic hazards.
Social Security is there regardless of what happens with the stock market.
Okay, pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Return to your seat.
You have been deemed not to do a perfect job.
Micah.
Hey, Micah.
Good evening.
Sam. Nice to meet you.
There's an idea that you have that basically government can kind of fix all these problems, right? If you didn't save for retirement, well, then the government can just come in. and swoop in and save you from
Well, not
that.
swoop in. It starts on literally the day.
Oh my God. Liu Bei wants to steal my elephant and wants to give me nothing in return. Wow. Okay. That's theft. That's just wow. Yeah, sure. I'm gonna give you my elephant for nothing in return. Hello, Lisa blogger. Like, what the hell is this? The hell is this? I'm just supposed to give you my elephant for nothing? You're supposed to be the nice guy of this group. Hello. I'm not giving you my elephant. What the hell? Okay. I've got a proposal for you. Give me your elephant. And nothing. I got a perfect proposal for you. I'm gonna give you. I'm just gonna give you. Oof, I'm so angry. Hello, Lisa blogger. Did President Sunday not stream today? Was there a no President Sunday stream? All right, let's watch.
Day you get your social security.
Sure. It swoops in once you retire, right? Once you can.
Well, you pay
once you
into
can.
it.
Right, exactly.
Okay, close defeat I can work with. I can try to win this.
And so you believe this idea basically that government is an effective organization, which it just time and time again, if you look at history, that's proven to not be true.
When you're hitting at retirement, you don't know.
When people say, when you look at history, usually they have no clue about history, just so you know. Usually when people invoke history like that, they actually do not know the history. Wait, so did President Sunday stream today, or was there no President Sunday stream tonight? No President Sunday stream tonight. They should all be here. All President Sunday viewers should be here.
It's an insurance program. That's it. It's an insurance program, and it basically says you're insured against eating cat food when you're 65, and it works. It works.
No, it doesn't. You should have, well, one, you should have your own personal.
How doesn't it work?
First of all, you should eat cat food when you're 65. Thank you very much. Or else it means that you just didn't deserve to eat anything else because you did not pull yourself by your bootstraps, okay? And that is your moral duty to do, okay? If you don't pull yourself by your booties, then you have not been performing your duties. Am I right?
How doesn't it work? Yeah. Well, I mean, we've already discussed the details of how it is just completely failing as a program. Like,
well, how is it failing?
Because I'm not going to receive any Social Security
I've already
benefit.
told you right now.
I know. I'm not going to rehash out that debate.
Well,
the main
look
issue.
At the numbers. You've just been told this, and you know why you've been told it? Is because they want to raid it to give tax cuts to rich people. That's why.
So are you saying there are the Trump tax cuts were only for rich people? You're saying
no, I'm not saying they're only for rich people.
Oh, okay. Then how could
rich people benefited more from it than low-income people? And I would say.
What do you mean benefited more from that? Because we already went over the percentage numbers, and we know that's not true.
They don't need the money as much, and they don't need it.
What are you talking about? These rich...
What do you mean when you say that billionaires don't need even more money? No Sunday stream, I think he said it would be like on Tuesday. Okay. Well, the phrase meant to describe an impossible task has become the go-to action you are supposed to take. Yeah, impossible is nothing. There's a saying in Poland. Impossible is nothing. Also, tomorrow, I'll just make an announcement. Tomorrow, I'll be talking to Anastasia, Ukrainian Anna. We'll be talking about various topics, so if you're interested in me talking about that with her, then tune in, okay?
People are the people that are investing in smaller businesses. These are the people that are giving other people jobs to allow them to provide for their family.
Okay,
Listen,
pause.
What's up? Hey. Good to be back.
Nice to see you.
Okay, yeah, nice to see you too. I want to zoom out a little bit.
Okay.
So obviously you're pinpointing on Social Security, and there's a reason for that.
And healthcare too.
Oh, okay. But Social Security is the program that you're very concerned about, and that
Medicare. I'd love a Medicare for all program, but go ahead.
Yeah, so I think the reason you're focusing in on Social Security precisely is because Social Security is the most successful in a shadow of social welfare programs and government spending that it's like the
It's
Democrats.
also the biggest bucket
Sure,
of money.
it is the biggest
government- it's
bucket, but the
biggest thing.
Democrats have these social programs and this deficit spending, and it just never ends. It's never enough money. So you're focusing on Social Security because it is the one successful child, but you're ignoring all the social welfare state that we become.
Social
70%.
Security and
well,
Medicare and Medicaid make up
the majority.
over like a
Right, so
third
70%
of our
of our
budget.
70% of our federal spending is mandatory. And that, you're right. It's Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, interest on debt. 8% of our who we're paying for that. So the Democrats run on this. Essentially, they want a welfare state. So yes, Social Security might help a lot of people, but it's like
Wait, hold on. The United States has the least robust social security program when compared to Europe, doesn't it?
to a welfare state than we've ever been. 38% of the GDP in the U.S. is government spending. That's the highest since World War II. So us conservatives, we're trying to tell you, like, you guys are fiscally really
So are you worried
irresponsible.
about the tax cuts and what that does to the debt and deficit?
The tax cuts increased revenue.
No.
Yes.
I want to tell you about Kansas.
Okay, tell me about Kansas.
Sam Brown back in 2012 brought in Arthur Laffer. You know the Laffer curve, right?
The Laffer curve, yeah.
The argument that if you cut taxes, you're going to get more revenue.
And that's exactly what happened.
Kansas.
No, that's exactly what happened
It
to TCJ.
destroyed Kansas. By 2016,
Let's
a
look at the
Republican
numbers.
legislature raised taxes again. They destroyed their education
Reality
system.
is against you, my friend.
Look up
The
Kansas.
the
In
numbers-
fact,
the numbers
during
say
the Trump administration, they sent Sam Brown back. They made him the ambassador to faith because they didn't want this guy
If
around
you
because
want
it
to
was
tax
a
the
disaster.
rich, you should vote Republican because they pay more in taxes under Republican. It was the same
Revenue
as
went
Reagan.
down.
It
Look
was
at
the same as
Kansas.
Trump.
Look at
the
Kansas.
U.S. Look at the U.S.
Look at
We have
Kansas.
the numbers
It
for
was
this.
the perfect
Obama's
experiment.
best year,
It destroyed
federal income
Kansas.
revenue is pales in comparison to Trump's worst year. Do you get what I'm saying? Does more taxes necessarily equate to more revenue?
Yes.
No, that's where you're wrong. So if you look at TCJA, and I'll say the numbers again, the top 1% paid more into the system. GDP grew, wages grew 3% year over year under TCJA. So when you're saying tax the rich, like, it sounds like you're actually a Republican. You just don't know it yet.
You're confusing causation with
No, I'm not.
correlation
No, I'm
because
not.
because Obama's economic recovery was way too slow, and I agree with you on
Way
that.
too slow.
Way too slow.
When you have tons of stimulus, what you're doing is you're creating the Great Depression for the bottom 90%. All the assets inflate. So who does that benefit? Your policies benefit the 1%.
No,
Inflation
no.
disproportionately benefits the 1%. It's an immoral tax on the poor.
Listen.
And that's exactly what happens when they
COVID
stimulate.
inflation was not a function of monetary stimulus.
It absolutely was. They
No.
increased the money supply
No.
by $6 trillion,
No, I
man.
understand they did that. I understand they did that, and they could pull it back on taxes with the wealthy if they wanted to. You're making an argument for higher taxation.
Okay, do you think taxing people makes the country wealthier? Is that what you think?
Does it make the country
Do taxes
wealthier?
make us wealthy? Is that government increasing taxes? Are we now more wealthy? Do you think that the only way you create wealth is by producing?
If you tax and spend, government stimulus can increase GDP, of course.
Is GDP wealth?
Is GDP wealth?
If we import 10 million immigrants and our GDP goes up, are we now wealthier? If the housing costs more, if CPI goes up because there's more people.
No, I understand. And inflation is
basic
under
economics.
control, and we haven't pulled that money off the table.
Right, but I'm just saying that
inflation is back down because we had a problem.
The welfare
with
state
logistics.
makes us all poorer.
Yes,
it does. And you can see
it doesn't.
across history.
If you compare,
people want to come here for economic opportunity. We don't want handouts. We want opportunity. That's why as an immigrant, that's why my family came here. We left the social.
Pull yourselves by your bootstraps. Yes, so you should get me a raid. The U.S. Social Security is the weakest it's been since FDR. GOP has spent at least 70 years dismantling the groundwork has he laid. There's a good book about this called The Invisible Hands. Can I get it in your library? So yeah, like I'm pretty sure that the U.S. is anything but welfare state, right? And I'm pretty sure compared to Europe, it's not all that robust.
socialist paradise. It's garbage. The people that come here want economic opportunity, and you're stifling that. You're undermining capitalism and the free markets with your utopian vision.
There is no free markets.
Well, there's not anymore.
No, there's never
but now
been a
there
free
used to be.
market. No.
That is what makes America.
Make America great again. Make it great again.
The greatest. That's what makes the greatest. America is the greatest economy in the world because of the free market.
The greatest
free market capitalism is the most ethical and
America
moral.
had was when we had 90% tax.
That's not true. The numbers are against you.
1940,
The numbers
1950,
are against
1960, the highest top marginal
So
tax rate
stagflation.
was
So what happened in the
90%,
70s?
and we
When
had
Milton Friedman predicted stagflation in the 70s with your social welfare.
we had OPEC,
When
we had
your
an
welfare
oil shock that drove inflation way up, and that was a function of OPEC. But in the 1940s, 1950s, and 1960s, highest top marginal tax rate was 90%.
we have an
We had
industrial
wealth
revol-
inequality
we had
shrink.
post-World
We
War
had something
II
called the
industrial
Great Compression,
What you're-
and more
we
people
had
enjoyed
post-World War II
more
industrial
people
revolution.
enjoyed
We were
wealth
producing.
than,
we were
than at
producing
any
more than
other
every other
time in the
country.
country.
No, it's because we were producing more than every other country. That's what creates.
Came out with a 90% tax rate on the wealthiest
Which was
individuals.
less when
90%.
Reagan came in and brought it down, the top 1% paid more. Can you believe that?
No.
Do you know that federal income tax?
when-
Wait. You know federal income tax? It was when it was established.
You're talking about the Laffer curve, and I'm
No, I'm
telling
not
you to
talking
go
about that.
look at,
Look, here's my last
Kansas.
claim. When federal income tax in 1913, when it was established, was only targeted at the people making 100,000 and over. Now we don't even know, most people don't even know that. It's just a base tax. Why? Because the projections that they had of taxing the rich didn't work out like they thought. Because it doesn't work out. There's a ton of loopholes. The rich are smart. Like the
I
rich people
understand.
are smart. So focus
Our
on
top
producing.
marginal rate still produced an effective tax rate that is
It was
double
lower,
what it is
man.
today.
It was
50%
More
effective
taxes
tax
does
rate.
not create more wealth.
Yes.
More taxes
well,
do not
I don't
create.
know what you mean
how
by wealth. I mean,
wealth is very
more-
simple. It's
more-
production of goods and services.
more
That's what wealth
taxes-
is. That's
more
what creates
taxes-
wealth. Money. People think money is
more
wealth.
taxes
Money buys wealth.
creates
Money
less wealth inequality, and then you have wealth that is shared by more people rather than being in the hands of a plutocracy or a plutonomy. And then you get stuff like an oligarchy.
We've
like
seen
we
what
have
happens
today.
when you punish your top producers over and over again. They leave. They stop producing. The government,
Capital
undermining.
flight's a myth.
No, it isn't. You cripple the economy. Guess what happens next?
Wait. When did this happen in the country? When we had a 90%
It happens
tax
in every
rate,
socialist
did
country.
people-
This is the socialist playbook.
This is
They're like,
not
they
a-
come in and they're like, guys,
This is not a
Socialist
socialist
playbook.
country, and I'm not calling for socialism.
Yes. The United States used to be a socialist country. You heard it here first. It's just a socialist.
It is more
Socialism is when high taxes, I guess.
than ever before.
No,
we have
it's
more
not.
social welfare spending.
No.
GDP. I'll say it again. 38% of government spending of GDP is government spending. We have more social welfare programs. And look at what happens. But how come we have all these programs and the black community is still living in poverty?
What programs are you talking about that are geared towards the black community? We during in 2021.
What do you mean, what programs?
We expended. Hold on. In 2021.
What do you mean? What program?
Hold on.
How much money is enough?
Yes. What do you mean? Okay. The Republicans are just stupid. They're extremely stupid people, okay? I hate to be that person. But Sam here asks a very simple question, simplistic almost question. Name those policies that are geared towards black people and tell me why they were not effective. And they just clap like seals. Oh my God. His definition was so ideologically loaded. Economics students and published economics do this all the time, where they pretend they are doing science when they are just playing politics.
2021.
You have the richest country in the world.
We
I just
offered
can't.
$300.
The way you guys think is just insane to me. Like
in 20, let me just.
Yes, it's insane to think that certain people, that society should take care of its most vulnerable members. Yes, it's so wild and so crazy to think that. It's insane, really. It's just,
Finish this.
All right, go
in
ahead.
2021, we extended the child tax credit, which is basically a payment, $300 per social welfare.
Yes.
We cut child poverty in 1 year by 45%. By 45%, but because no Republican would join the Democrats, and Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin voted against this provision in Build Back. I'm talking 2021. From 2021 to 2022, we cut child poverty in this country by 45%. Look it up.
I feel like when I look at it,
I guarantee.
It's a pretty well-known fact. I still remember it. Like, it's silly. Like, this is just, wow. Cutting child poverty, how dare you? How dare you? Kids should starve, don't you know? Kids, then brats should just starve.
Guarantee you, I will give you my phone number. You call me, and if I was wrong,
all right, we'll call.
I'll do it off camera. And you will see that we cut child poverty in a year by 45%.
I'll look into your claim.
All right, guys.
All right. No, we'll talk after.
My next claim is Trump's policies make the rich richer and the working class poorer.
Hello, sir.
Hey,
Hunter Howell. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, so do you mind if I ask what policies in specific are you referencing to?
Tax cuts for the rich. I think his idea of tariffs on countries in the way that he's talking about will make people poorer. I think all of the work that they're doing in terms of attacking the government agencies will make people poorer. Because, you know, when you get agencies that are supposed to protect us from corporate interests, they will externalize their costs, those corporations, instead of actually assuming themselves. So their profits are made on the backs of all of us, whether it's our health, our protection from consumer rights, worker rights. His anti-union policies will make us poorer.
So real quick, I'm going to touch on one of the things that you said. There was a lot to unpack there, but
there's
we'll
a lot
start,
of policies.
We'll start at the very beginning. You talked about taxes. Let's talk about, in his first term, the Tax Cut and Jobs Act of 2017. There are a couple things in that specific policy that actually do benefit the middle class and the lower class more than the top 1%. So you mentioned taxes, right? But in that, from the IRS data that came out, the middle class and lower class got affected. I think they ended up saving like 3 to 4% on their taxes, on their tax cuts, whereas the billionaires only saved 2%. So if we're talking an actual dollar amount, sure, the billionaires saved more, but they also make a lot more, right? Also, the billionaires don't really care about an extra grand or two. In that specific policy, the child tax credit doubled from $1,000 per household to $2,000. No billionaire cares about an extra grand in their pocket, but I can guarantee you the working class does. So how would you rebuttal that?
I would say, in terms of the taxes themselves, well, the policies that Trump wants to pursue this time are to expand those taxes for wealthy folks. And over time, what starts to happen is you have this wealth disparity, and as the wealth disparity increases, it becomes harder for working people, essentially, to keep up. Things become more expensive. You get inflationary pressures when you have people with more money. We have more and more billionaires than we did 4 years ago. And a large part of that was obviously COVID, but a large part of it is also money starts to accelerate. Once you, like you say, when a millionaire gets a tax cut for a couple of grand or 60 grand or $500,000 at the end of the day, they end up investing that and it ends up growing because they're not out there working for their money. Their money is just is doing all the work.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I think we can agree with you on that when it comes to, you know, billionaires and millionaires and there being a wealth gap in our country, right? I don't think Republicans or liberals would disagree on that, but I think where we will fundamentally disagree is under Trump, right, the stats show that take-home pay was higher for the middle class and the lower class. Inflation was down. They weren't paying as much on taxes.
Inflation was down, but wage growth was actually greater during the Biden administration.
Well, that's because due to COVID, when a lot of people lost jobs.
No. I mean, I'm talking in percentage comparison between those 4 years and these past 4 years, wage growth grew, not from as a baseline on 2020, but I'm talking as a baseline from 2016.
Interesting. Okay, well then another point that I want to talk on with you real quick is you talked about slashing government agencies, for instance, the Department of Government Efficiency. I'm sure you've heard about that a lot in the news.
That's not a government agency. That's just some committee.
It actually an executive order was signed to make DOGE an official government agency as of less than a week ago. So yeah, it is an official government agency. So obviously we're talking about money. We want people to be able to afford.
I wonder why Trump has to circumvent the official processes and push everything via executive orders. I'm just posing this question to my American audience.
House, we want them to be able to afford to raise a family, right? As a young man myself, I want to be able to grow up in America and be able to afford food one day, right? I mean, I can now, but continue that. And at the way things are going, it's unsustainable for people on the left, people on the right, people in the middle. So we have to come to a common ground on how to fix that. What's unsustainable? The fact that cost of living is increasing year after year.
What does Doge do to inhibit cost of living?
Yeah, absolutely. So what Doge is going to do, the Department of Government...
Stop 200-year-old people from getting social benefits, of course. That's actually a constitutional crisis kind of thing. I mean, yeah, many people are saying that we're in a little bit of a constitutional crisis, don't they? They do say that. They do say that a bit, at least a little bit. I'm not even going to say that I say that a lot, but they do say that a bit, quite a bit. Yeah, interestingly enough.
Efficiency is slash a lot of the federal spending, right? So what happens when the feds...
What spending is going to get cut?
So I'm getting there. 1 second, sir. So what's going to happen is the Department of Government Efficiency is going to slash a lot of federal spending. What happens is the government, Republicans, Democrats alike, spend a bunch of money that, excuse my language, but it's nonsense, right? They spend it out here, they spend it out there.
Be more specific. Here or there, are you talking about cutting
for example,
defense? Because they're not going to cut defense.
Well, for example,
wait a second.
Well, no. Let me finish. Okay. $175 billion to Ukraine, first and foremost. That was a bunch.
How much for Ukraine? So that's just holding to your obligations from the Budapest Memorandum. You shouldn't have made obligations if you're not gonna follow them, okay? Just saying. Maybe Ukraine should have just kept their nukes if you don't want to keep your obligations.
It's nonsense. So we're going to talk about that, but we also have a bunch of other things in the Defense
talking about Ukraine.
Department, as well as a bunch of DEI departments.
Well, they're not touching. First of all, there are no DEI departments.
That's completely false.
Listen, defense spending is not going to be touched by Doge.
Wrong.
And when you talk about the government, what's the biggest expenditure government has?
Our military and Social Security are our top two.
And Medicare and Medicaid, right? Now, they're not going to touch the military. Are they going to cut Social Security? Do you think that's going to...
You're asking me like I'm part of Doge.
No. Well, you're telling me that Doge is going to help everybody here. And I'm telling you, if they cut Social Security, everybody in here is going to get hit. Because these folks are going to have to pay for their parents because Social Security keeps 2/3 of our elderly out of poverty. So tell me what they're going to cut that's going to make it easier for Americans.
I already did.
What?
I told you the $175 billion that we've sent to Ukraine. We're no longer going to
so he's going to...
So Donald Trump has signed an executive order.
Pause. You've been voted out by the majority.
Thank you, sir.
Nice. Thank God the brain dead rhetoric about Ukraine was just not allowed to go. I have no patience for that.
Okay, so why did we see a higher increase in the top 1% paying as part of federal income revenue under TCJA?
Why did we see a higher increase in the...
So under TCJA, it was passed 2017, It was effective 2018. 2018 and onward, we actually saw the top 1% pay more. They had more of the federal income tax burden. They paid 45% as opposed to Obama. During Obama's tax plan, they only paid about 40 to 42% of the federal income tax.
Because they got more money.
Right, okay, so they got more money.
They got richer.
But why are they paying... And why did they get richer? So this goes on inflation that...
I mean, that's my point, is the rich are getting richer.
Right, but why would you say that they're getting richer? But you mentioned inflation? Or...
No, they're not. I think that inflation, to the extent that there was money that wasn't a function of logistics and other problems that we had during COVID, yeah, the rich got richer. Not all inflation is a function of monetary inflation.
That's true, but when we look at COVID and we can see that they increased the money supply by 40%, they added $6 trillion, and you have a Federal Reserve System that's doing quantitative easing and pumping stimulus into the economy, you can attribute that to left-wing policy. The entire Federal Reserve System is Keynesian economics. Those are very left-wing.
Well, I can tell you this: inflation went up in Western European countries the same rate
that had stimulus.
No, they didn't have the same level of stimulus that we did. No, they did.
They absolutely did.
They did.
You can look at Japan. Yeah, I hear this topic all the time from the Democrats.
Okay,
they say
Japan. I don't know. I didn't know I had to say this, but Japan is in fact not a Western European country. Okay. I'm surprised that that is part of the quote-unquote analysis and reaction that I have to do here. But Sam Seder said that the Western European countries did not have such a stimulus, and there was, and he said, but look at Japan.
oh, inflation was global. Not true. China never went above 3% inflation during all of COVID, and they were actually they were under deflationary pressures. Japan, which is part of the G7, was also never had deflationary pressures. They never had inflation increase. The only countries that had inflation
talking
increase,
in Western Europe. You
Like
could
what
see
country?
inflation. Well, you could England, Germany,
'Cause they
Italy.
stimulated.
They didn't stimulate as much as we did. It wasn't monetary inflation. If you look at the cost of goods and
why-
logistics got screwed up because of COVID.
So let's look at the reason. All international trade, because we're the world reserve currency, is done in U.S. dollars. Because we experience it, domestic inflation was high.
So you're saying our inflation
Yes, it
caused
affects
higher inflation in Europe?
Absolutely, because
That's
trade,
not what economists
it is international. Well, you can look at the facts. International trade is we have dollar-denominated international trade. All international trade is that's why we're the world reserve currency. You guys claim that the U.S. recovered faster than anybody else. It's like, well,
it did.
It's because we have a privilege of being the world reserve currency, and we export our inflation. Like the strength.
We
of
export our
Yeah, and
inflation.
let me explain that. Let me explain that the U.S. dollar is the most safe asset in the world. In times of great crisis and great volatility, like COVID crisis, everybody turns to the dollar.
Sure.
Many currencies are tied to the dollar. So it's like when you
The euro is not tied to the dollar.
The euro is not, but international
Okay.
trade. So if the euro actually crashed against the dollar during COVID. The euro used to be above the dollar.
I'm unclear what your point.
My
of
point
this
is that the inflation is caused by left-wing policies and
so inflation was caused by, you're saying
supply shock and pumping trillions of dollars
Well,
into the economy.
first of all, you understand that the Federal Reserve is not part of Biden didn't have control of the Federal
Absolutely
Reserve.
not, but the entire Federal Reserve System is left-wing in economic theory. That's the Keynesian economics. It's interventionist economics. So
You're saying that the
more you
quantitative
stimulate,
easing,
the more you stimulate. Yeah.
Why didn't we get it through QE?
We do get it through
Why
QE.
didn't we get inflation during the
2008?
Obama years?
We did get
when
inflation.
We didn't get
The wealth gap that you guys
Excuse me.
attribute.
Wait.
We absolutely did.
What numbers were inflation did we get during the Obama years that were outside of like the 2% sort of Fed target?
I don't think it was as high as COVID. COVID hit as high as 9%.
No, it wasn't even remotely
right,
close.
But when we look at the effects
and
of
QE 1, 2, and 3 all happened during the Obama years. If your theory was correct, we would have had rampant inflation. In fact,
we did.
Glenn Beck was talking about how we were going to turn into Weimar Germany, and
here's
none
the
of
thing,
that
but
happened.
here's the factors you're
None
missing.
of it. So if you
We didn't
look
close
at
down
what's
the
happening
economy.
at Western Europe, well, no, listen.
We didn't close down the
closed down the
economy.
economy.
The
around
Biden administration
entire
closed down
world.
the economy.
I understand.
No, that was not the entire
excuse
world.
me, the Biden
Yes,
administration.
they forced mask mandates. They supported Democrats.
Wait.
They supported Democrat
Do you
states.
not remember who was president in the first year of COVID?
What? Yeah, it was Trump. I'm not.
Right.
So I'm not saying Trump had a role in this, but I'm saying.
Well, wait a second. By the time in 2021, the economy was opening back up.
Yes, the economy. No, thanks to the Democrats.
Well, okay,
the Democrats wanted to keep it closed.
Okay.
So
okay, you can talk about hypothetically what the Democrats want, but
it's not hypothetically. We can look at we can look at their mandates. We can look at them closing
down. The economy closed down in 2020, March of 2020.
Well, okay, sure.
Donald Trump was president.
Pause.
Uh-oh, it's not going well. No wonder conservatives said no.
You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
The euro is still worth more than the dollar. I mean,
how's it going, sir?
Good. How you
Ryan.
doing, Sam?
Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
When you're talking about like inflation, in 2021, Janet Yellen said it would be transitory, and then again in 2022 she said it would be transitory, and it turned out to not be transitory. And then one major thing happened in 2022. I think we all know what that was. That was the war in Ukraine, and I believe, and I can explain.
oh no! Again, we're going to Ukraine. Okay, let's listen to your argument. Why the U.S. should have abandoned Ukraine from day one.
That the war in Ukraine was explicitly caused by Joe Biden's bad foreign policy. And
oh my God. Okay, can you demonstrate it? Can you explain to us how Joe Biden's bad foreign policy caused the war in Ukraine? Because that is a ridiculous claim. As a Polish person, I can tell you that it's a ridiculous claim. Okay, it's silly. My goodness.
That shot.
Yeah, the game is great, isn't it? Joe Biden caused the war in Ukraine, not being a strong man. True. I don't know. They should have not let it happen or something. They should have just not let it happen. Have you considered that, Moho? Biden should have not let it happen. If they respected Biden, it would not have happened.
Like there was already pretty bad inflation in early 2022 and late 2021, but it shot it up from the low kind of margins in like 3 or 4% all the way to 9% in 2022 of July at the peak.
Inflation is now down around 2%, around where
In between 2.5
yeah,
and 6,
where they're looking to get it, and we have really close to record unemployment that we've had over the past 4 years. But how does this have to do with Trump's policies not making the richer richer and the rest of us poor?
Okay, so what I was just explaining with
Ukraine.
I was going to get into oil prices. So oil prices skyrocketed in 2022 because in 2021 when Biden got into office, he shut down our Keystone pipeline, shut down all new oil and gas leases in America. Then he took the sanctions off.
We are producing right now more oil in this country than we ever have in the history of any country everywhere.
Yeah, I know.
On top of the fact that Biden is credited by oil traders, and this isn't something that I, am terribly excited about.
What did he just do
but
on the East Coast?
apparently,
What did he just sign?
what Biden did during the past 4 years is he used the strategic oil reserve to drive down oil prices, and it's filled back
he
up.
Drained our
and
entire
he
strategic oil
filled it
reserves.
back up, and he broke the negotiating power and the price setting power by oil countries across the world.
Really,
I mean, oil traders hail him for doing this, and frankly, I don't think it's that impressive. But let's talk about what Trump's policies are.
We only have a little bit of time left, but I was getting to that. So oil prices.
I wish they discussed Ukraine a little bit so I could laugh at this person for his Ukraine opinions. Because
in 2021, Biden took all the sanctions off of the pipeline in Russia, and then the pipeline in Russia ran straight through Ukraine originally, and he knew that if he invaded Ukraine, Ukraine would destroy the pipeline, and his economic success would be destroyed in Russia. And then when the sanctions,
Biden or
Putin knew that would occur in Russia if the sanctions were taken off of that pipeline, and Biden took all the sanctions off of Nord Stream 2 in Russia, like the second week he was in office. And then a year later, Putin invades Ukraine, sanctions happen all over the world, and inflation rises within 6 months all the way up to 9%. Trump is going to do great things with oil and let us drill, and what that actually does for the economy.
Like I say,
we should use more oil because the planet being inhabitable for us doesn't really matter, because drill, baby, drill. Am I right, baby? Am I right?
We are producing more oil in this country than any country in the history of the world.
What executive order did Biden just sign to have to do with offshore drilling in the East Coast?
He stopped it.
Yeah. Really dumb idea. We're about to begin a new.
Well, so you want to go beyond even the record-breaking thing?
Yes, I want to become energy independent.
Climate?
And that lowers inflation.
We're going to sell this oil.
Better.
We don't use the oil. We sell it. We sell
getting
it.
money in the pockets
we sell it. Well, how is that oil getting to the pocket of American citizens?
Because when you lower the prices of oil, that lowers the prices of all products.
I understand that the inflationary prices effective of energy, but the fact of the matter is, they're just going to sell it.
Yeah, we're going to be
sell it.
Yeah, so we're going to.
You want to produce even more oil than we are now.
Yes.
And you don't think climate change is going to impact? No. You don't believe in climate change?
Well, that's a whole other discussion, but no.
Well, I mean,
oh my God! Of course, Trumpers don't believe in climate change. I'm not even shocked at this point. This is just, obviously they don't. Obviously they don't believe in climate change. Of course. Oh God, why am I even surprised by that?
Same discussion.
Yeah, no, I believe that climate change is, there's obviously an element of climate change that is partially true, but
nothing that's inconvenient for me.
Which part of it?
Raising man-made raising temperatures by 1 to 2 degrees Celsius in the next 150 years isn't necessarily a detriment to society. Human beings.
You don't think so?
No, human beings are very good at innovation, and we can build seawalls, and we can create carbon technology.
What kind of seawall are you going to?
Elon Musk is going to fix the climate. Okay, he's Tony Stark. Believing in climate change is weak. True.
builds
Are
from
you
Miami.
weaklings?
What are you going to do about
There's
when
a
we
bunch of
don't
research
when we
on
get
it. I'm talking about the economy right now, which if we get back on topic.
All right, guys.
Oh my
Sorry,
God.
time's up. I'll let you
Yeah,
go.
no problem.
That is so sad. That is so sad. I'm sorry. This is just pathetic. This is just so pathetic.
choose Ben because he let me lecture him about Social Security.
My claim is that abortion is immoral and should not be legal.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I disagree.
How innovative.
Largely because I think the primary rights that we have under a society should belong to the person, and I don't believe a fetus is a person.
Okay, okay, so that's very interesting. You don't believe the fetus is a person.
Yeah, a fetus is not a person. It's not really a shocking thing.
When do you think that it gains personhood, in your opinion? Would you agree it's a human life, at least?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I mean, yes, I think largely, I think that claim is largely like, it's not relevant to the way that I think about it. I think about it in terms of personhood. I think life exists all around us. And
not human, human life,
human
but
life.
not like, there's
Right.
not human life in a tree, correct?
Right, correct.
So
And
it's human life,
it's human life.
but it's not a person?
It's not a person.
At which point does it gain personhood and gain the value of being a human?
Well, I think it becomes a person when it's born.
Why? So 5 seconds prior, it's not born yet, not person. 5 seconds after exits the birth canal.
You know what this sounds like? This sounds like a person that will be arguing about age of consent in the exact same way. Just saying. This sounds like an argument about the age of consent. So, 5 seconds earlier, it's magically not okay, but 5 seconds later, when the birth is here, it's okay?
Person. Is there a magical quality to the birth canal? What is that?
The person becomes separate from the host that has been that it's been growing inside.
Okay, so would you assign that to other human beings that are attached to things? Like, for instance, if I'm attached to a machine, am I a machine now? Am I part of that machine, or am I still a human life? I just need support in order to stay alive.
I mean, you're part machine. Cyborgs are a thing.
If you've never been born and you're growing in, let's say, a test tube, for instance, then yes, I would argue you're not a person yet.
Okay, so then, but it's not really the disconnected part. It's the being born part.
Well, being born means being disconnected from your mother.
Okay, so you're specifically
My mother always
aligning
connected.
having the quality of being birthed as what makes someone a person.
Person within the context of our society and civilization.
So just in our society, you wouldn't say that objectively that's a person. You would say that we just decide that it's a person because it's birth.
Yeah, rights we give to persons. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess that's an interesting kind of definition of what human life and specifically personhood
Well, no,
is.
I don't. I'm conceding that it's human life, but that you're not a person until you're born, and you do not have the same rights that we would give. Look, we have rights about cruelty to animals, for instance, right? But they're not persons within the context of our society.
I'm not saying that they are, but specifically, it seems like you're just kind of saying, oh, it's a person when it's born, but you're not actually providing any consistent reason for that. You're just saying it just is a person.
I'm saying that on some level, there's a certain amount of arbitrariness as to when we give rights. One could say, do you say it's at conception?
Sure, yeah.
So IVF, in other words, would have to be illegal under your principle because.
I mean, I'm not sure that I would agree with IVF in that case. It really depends on the particulars in that case, but I believe.
Well, what do you mean the particulars in that?
Well, so for instance, at conception, you would still be a human life, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the fertilized egg attaches
So
to
is
the
it
uterine wall.
is it human life for you or what?
It's human life, yeah.
Okay, so human life should be protected.
True.
Yes.
Okay, so IVF.
Yeah, I would say that.
So IVF should be illegal under your rubric.
No. So they're human lives, correct?
The IVF is when the egg and the sperm in that and then they're supplanted.
Yes.
Is it when is it human life?
As soon as it has unique human DNA.
Again, this is one of those things that you can just argue until the cows go home. They've just decided it's murder. No amount of argumentation will convince a person that thinks that it's murder and that it's murder. Okay, something emotional would have to happen to move them on that. Like it's a fact. Okay, that's an undisputable fact of the matter, as they call it in the debate spheres. Okay. Can we agree to that? This is why I think ideology is a false concept. The time has come. I guess so. People like this, yeah.
That's a human life.
Okay, so
it's a new human, correct?
now in the IVF process, there's stuff that gets thrown out. Like,
Yes.
You would consider that
Yeah,
murder.
I'm not even defending IVF or going against it. I'm specifically saying abortion. That was my claim, right? I'm not going to argue IVF.
But
I'm
isn't
saying-
that abortion under your principle?
I would say if you get rid of human life after conception, I don't think that's moral. I'm not going to argue the IVF particulars because that's not what my claim was. Right?
When we're talking about laws, right? Because you want to outlaw abortion.
Yes.
Correct? Okay.
Okay. Sam Cedar got stuck.
When we're talking about laws, it's not just morality. When we form public policy around and create laws.
Not just, but it should be moral.
Oh, what's moral is pretty subjective, isn't it? There's a certain level of subjectivity.
Correct.
Well, I mean, I think like your
should have been
definition of what constitutes moral and mine are different. For instance, I would prefer, in a perfect world, not to have abortion on demand until, up until birth, right?
Sure.
In a perfect world. However, we know in practice that when you start to restrict things, like say, only in the threat of life to the woman, let's say.
You should restart your browser. I don't think it'll help.
That's the only way we're going to allow abortions, right? When you start to have these exceptions, they're in practice, they don't work. Because when your life is in jeopardy and you come into a hospital, the doctor doesn't see a bulb that shows up above you and say, like, your life is in jeopardy. It's always a subjective assessment. And what does life in jeopardy, hold on, what does life in jeopardy mean? Does it mean a 30% chance of death? Does it mean a 50%, a 70%, or a 20%? That's why we now have women who are dying, because doctors are afraid to perform abortions on them. That's true.
Are you
referencing
just because some doctors misread plain text doesn't mean that that it's
when you
all of a sudden
pass
that life
laws,
is less valuable or more valuable?
No, it means that you are subjecting the woman to more risk, and it's impossible. These exceptions are they're canards.
No, Christian.
When you oppose a law, it is not just about morality, it's in practice.
Sure,
in practice,
I understand that.
You cannot do this without sacrificing women's lives because
what about
of your
the unborn
morality.
children, though? Because let's go back to your born
Unborn
thing.
children
so let's
are
say
not persons,
you have a 9-month.
and the mother has more rights, in my mind, than the unborn.
Yeah, that's a claim that you can make. But so a 9-month birthed child, or just 9 months and just now born, it's a newborn baby. A 5-month could be emergency C-section and could be birthed, right? Let's say they don't do that. What's the difference between the arbitrary choice of taking that child out of the womb at 6 months or 5 months?
Why don't we take all children out of 5 months?
No, what I'm saying is that the personhood just because of birth runs into a problem where it starts to say,
all right, guys.
well,
I hate to do it, but I gotta do it. I'm sorry, that's time.
Hey,
I'm glad I was here. It was interesting. I know my questions were more sort of policy oriented, I think, than maybe folks anticipated here, and I was a little bit surprised that there wasn't many people here who could address the policies. They were very, very sure of themselves as to why they voted for Trump, but a lot of it was sort of not material in any way.
So there was stuff that conservatives were saying today that I fundamentally disagreed with my entire heart, but at the end of the day, we're still part of the conservative movement. So I think there are people that I disagreed with, there are people that I completely did. agree with, but the cool thing about this new conservative movement and the people here today is it's people from all different walks of life sharing their perspective.
Oh, cool.
I don't think Sam had any, like, at least when I was speaking to him, I don't think Sam really had great responses because the reality is not on his side. I don't think socialism works. I think social programs can be good up to a certain extent, but we are very socialist as a nation, and yeah,
What?
I mean, I'll just say it again. Socialism does not work.
We are very socialist as
Wish
a
it did.
nation. I'm sorry. What?
Again, so we're very socialist as a nation, and
We are very socialist as a nation. You heard it here. I don't know. It's weird. I guess Americans are just very socialist as a nation. Let me finish this battle, which I'm not sure I can win, but I'll do my best, okay? And then we're gonna talk about the beef between Elon Musk and the Polish Minister of Foreign Affairs, because that's a topic for today. Isn't that cool? Is that cool that we're gonna be talking about the Prime Minister, the Minister of...
It is useless to try to defeat me.
Your foolish charade ends here.
Do not relent.